Greetings.
Well,
Hello.
hello and greetings. Hello. Make sure that we're not muted, right?
We're not muted. I don't believe so. Everything is white the way it's supposed to be, so we are good.
Okay, excellent. Because you just
Yeah.
typed some notes into the notes.
I
You
just
typed
noticed that
2 into the notes. And I thought those were your shortcuts, and I'm like, oh,
they were,
like-
and so that freaked me out a second there. Because so for those who don't know, we were muted for the last episode because I had my hotkeys all messed up. But they got fixed before the show because we're professionals and that's what we do. I also figured out how to spell turtle on the little thing, the ticker down here, because it was turl earlier. So I fixed that.
Hey,
a lot of things happen on the
turtle.
soup before you get here.
Yes,
a lot of things. So.
Yes. Speaking of which, this is your boy Ryan.
Hey,
you know
it's your
what
boy
I'm
Easy.
saying?
I know what you're saying.
And you're listening to Turtle Soup, the internet, nay, the world's only community supported podcast dedicated to the ongoing journey of the TMNT, all the way from the very, very, very beginning. The very beginning.
Yep.
Until I can once again say that no animals were harmed during this baseball practice.
Yeah? Dang.
I'm trying to get my record clean again. You know what I'm saying?
You got to get it expunged.
There was an incident.
Goodness.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. We
be
are
better.
currently, now, this is going to come as a shock to some of you that are watching YouTube right now.
So get ready.
We are currently live on YouTube. So if you're listening to the audio podcast, please be sure to hop on YouTube, subscribe, hit the bell icon, get all the notifications. Check out the live show. We have visual aids. You know, I was talking to our boy M Wilson. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
On that DM status, your boy M was like, it's a game changer. You know what I'm saying? Those visuals on the podcast for the comics, they're a game changer. I said, thank you very much. That fills my heart with joy. You know
it
what
does.
I'm saying?
Likewise.
So come, let's get some subscribers going on. You know what I'm saying? Let's make it happen, y'all. And everybody watching now and watching in the future, thank you so much.
Yes.
The pregame show is fantastic. Bunch of awesome live commentary with y'all, and we love that. That fills our hearts.
We do.
More than you may ever know. It may even transform me into a baby turtle again. We'll see. I tell you, a couple people that keep me from getting all of my stones combined and turning into a little baby turtle are a couple people. You know what I'm saying? And these are a couple patrons that are going to get shouted out on this here episode. These patrons are Jeff Peters and Mike Hatfield. Thank you guys both so much for being patrons. Both longtime patrons, and you helped this show not say clang. You pledged your support when April and Splinter did it, but it wasn't enough. You get us out of the toxic seaweed, you know what I'm saying? The shocking seaweeds that Eric apparently is the only person in the world never had a problem with it. You know
never had a problem.
I'm launching my own investigation,
right?
And the results of which will come out. Some people might get suspended. You know what I'm saying? We might have to see what happens. But thank you both so much, and to all of our other awesome patrons. If you want to be a patron of the show, you can always go to patreon.com. Check out Turtle Soup, see we done been making a podcast, get that hot quality business, and back your boys up. We really appreciate it.
Indeed.
So, Eric, speaking of things I appreciate, I like Steps of the Journey. You know what I'm saying? That's why I show up. That's why I dust off the cleats every day, and I come out for Turtle Soup. The journey. Where are we at in the journey today? In
the journey, my friend. We are in the year of our Lord 1996. And let's see, what are we? It's January through March, to be specific, and we are going to be talking about a tale of the Turtles. Well, I should say more of like an adventure of the Turtles that I was unaware of, and I thought we'd finished Adventures. Turns out this is, to my understanding, the last Adventures, at least from what we know as Adventure. Well, it's a little different than what we know, but kind of all in there. Same relative time period. The last adventure story called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Adventures, The Year of the Turtle. And so we're going to be reviewing that today on Turtle Soup. So, yeah.
Fantastic.
But speaking of today, Ryan, where are we at today? How are you doing?
Oh, man. I'm doing great. I committed a crime against nature today.
Did you?
At baseball practice. I need to let you know.
Okay, let me know.
Me and your boy August out there, you know what I'm saying, grinding out in that Florida heat, you know what I'm saying, working on fielding drills, you know what I'm saying, and lately, you know, I ain't been holding back, you know what I'm saying, like I unwind, I throw him the heat, you know what I'm saying, and I want that kid to get in front of it and catch it, right?
Yeah.
So he is like, we're kind of in our yard lengthways, because that's kind of the best way, right, to get distance, and we're doing it, but if August misses one, it can like hit the neighbor's fence, or it can go kind of in, there's like a little bit of scrub kind of behind the neighbor's fence area.
Okay.
Well, I throw a heater at him. He doesn't snag it, so it flies straight into that stuff. Okay. Well,
Okay.
right into the brush line. So he runs to go get the ball, right?
Right.
And he's like, "Dad, there's a snake over here." Basically, like, "Oh my God, it's a snake." And I'm like, "All right." So I trot over there and I'm like, "All right, let's check this out." And I see a black racer. Now we have black racers in the backyard. Like, I mean, they're just hanging out. Like, there's at least always one. Scares the hell out of Lex when she comes over. You know what I'm saying? We're out there playing catch. Lex is like, "Don't let me see a snake, I'll cry." I gotta give her a lot of credit. She doesn't cry as much anymore, which is pretty great. But sometimes you got to go, you got to be brave, reach in with that glove into that brush to get that ball, and you don't know what's going to come out, right?
You don't know.
So I see the snake, and it's weird because it's kind of just like laying there, and I'm like, all right. So I kind of roll up on it, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, why isn't it moving? So I kind of like stomp my feet a little on the grass, and it just its head's moving and stuff, but the back half of the body's not moving, and that's when I look down and realize that there's a huge baseball sized just tear in that snake, and I'm like, oh,
so
crap.
August didn't catch it, but the snake did.
The snake caught it.
Goodness.
The snake caught that ball, and it tore him apart. And I was like, so I'm like sitting there like,
right.
I mean, I was looking for a minute too. I was I was like, maybe he's shedding, and
right.
like that part that's twisted and looks torn. Maybe that's just like the skin coming off.
Right.
And I apologize to anybody who this makes like kind of squeamish or doesn't like this. I mean, I hated that happened. Like,
right.
I'm not looking to kill animals out there. That's not my
thing.
No. So I kind of felt bad. I was like, God damn, that guy's just like in the brush line, man, doing his thing. And this heater just goes flying past. It just go bam, like I've hit him directly because
right.
The force. So he's still moving, and I'm like, oh man,
man, that's so. What do you do?
You say the thing you gotta say to your son sometimes in Florida, and you say,
"There's a lot of those.
Son, go give me the shovel." You know
right,
what I'm saying?
Right. You say it a lot more than you think you do.
Yeah, I had to get that shovel and finish the deed in a merciful way.
Right. It sucks
I felt pretty bad.
It sucks with the with him being a racer in the Olympics being right around the right here. That
you're right. I mean, they're right here. Yeah.
Goodness,
I mean, he wasn't in Tokyo, so I don't know what his maybe he didn't make the team.
Maybe
I don't really
know.
Know.
He was hoping for like next time, but man, that's horrible.
Maybe he's a little young. That. I mean, he seemed like a younger snake too. Unfortunately, I mean, in real life, he wasn't as big as some of the ones I've seen.
So life hadn't crushed him yet. Then, just baseball. Goodness,
just baseball.
That's insane, dude.
And I continued to feel bad. Like throughout the rest of the practice, I was kind of like, what are the odds? Like, if I told you there's a snake in that brush line, you try to hit it and go ahead.
Right?
And
yeah.
You'd never be able to throw that ball, man.
Never.
Never in your life would you be able to peg a snake from it was like 80 feet away. Is like where it made contact. I'm like, there's no way you could just spear a snake like that. But sure enough,
no way. You did it.
That's what happened.
That heater.
So until we can say no animals were harmed. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm still doing the podcast.
There you go.
Where are you at today, Eric? Where
am I at? I'm doing well. I have had that thing when you find like a musician that kind of like registers with you, and like you just like start deep diving again, and you just start getting into it, and like just finding out stories about songs that you didn't know were about like like you had your own idea, but then when they explain it, you're like, oh, that's amazing. I didn't realize this. Yeah, I got that way with Jens Lekman, which just Jeremy DeWitt, if you're listening to this, chances are you're not going to dig it. He's not remember when Jeremy wrote us and said, I tried to listen to some of the stuff y'all recommend, and it's just not I was like,
that's so probably not up his alley, but
it's probably not, but I think about Jeremy anytime I listen to anything now. It's just, is this something Jeremy would like? And then I still listen to it one way or the other, but I do think about you, Jeremy. Anyway, but yeah, Jens Lekman, he is I think he's from Sweden. Yes, he's definitely from Sweden.
Yeah, he's
and
Swedish,
my buddy Mark got me. He called me one day and he's like, dude, go listen to this. He was in the military and he would call me and stuff and tell me like different bands and stuff to go check out. So I did, and I loved it. And his songwriting is a lot like mine in a way, and the way that I want to be. And you can also tell that he's definitely influenced by Jonathan Richman and the Modern Lovers and stuff like that. And so yeah, when you told me that, you're like Jonathan Richman, and I was like, okay. And then I started listening more to him and Jens Lekman. I'm like, oh, there's definitely a connection. And I think I even read so much that's what that is. But yeah, he's I don't know. There's something about like musicians that maybe it's just my take on it, and probably why I haven't been as successful, not like monetarily, but just like as far as like productivity with like my music that I write and stuff, that like, because it's halfway between stand-up comedian and songwriter, and I just it's like, I don't know, like he does it really well, and with his accent and his delivery, it's just, I don't know, it just gets me, and so I've been digging that a lot, and just like deep diving on that. So it got me wanting to like start playing the piano a little bit more, because he's mostly guitar based, but he's got like a bunch of accompaniment with him, and it makes the song sound like more. I can't really articulate it, but there's a lot more to it than just guitar. And so we were at band practice 2 nights ago, and there's a piano in the church where we practice. And I never noticed this, and we've practiced there for a while now. And the piano, I guess, is the brand of the piano, like the make of it, is called Young Chang. And that cracked me up so hard, because like I'm in this like
pretty great,
this like super like conservative, like just really like super white church, and everything in there is like it just seemed like that was the one thing where I'm like, you would think I was looking to see some like name brand thing, and it's no. I believe Young Chang, and correct listeners, Turtletarians, if y'all know the brand I'm talking about, let me know, because I don't know anything about it. But I was telling one of my coworkers about it, and they were like, oh yeah, that's made with the highest quality knockoff materials a piano can be made out of, you know.
Oh, I'm sure.
And that cracked me up so much. And so I was wondering, because I'm wanting to start I was thinking about doing some solo stuff. I don't know. I'm still percolating all this stuff, because with COVID, it's hard to get, like, we're not sure what we're going to be doing for the time being. But nevertheless, I'm like, well, if I start a solo thing, what do I call it? And I was debating like just calling myself Young Chang and seeing if that could work.
Chang.
But like, I don't know if that's like that might be borderline. It's enough to make me question it, but I just thought it was so funny, cracked me up. But and I played it, and it sounds great. I mean, it sounds just I don't know, sounds wonderful to me. But anyway, that's kind of where I've been at lately, or today in the last few days. But yeah, that's been about it. So do we have any emails?
Oh, we do.
We do.
We do have
we
do.
Well, let's do it.
So the first one we have today, both are hot off the presses. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh,
both came in the day of the show. I appreciate that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, keep us on our toes.
Love it. Love that. And I keep saying it. It sounds sarcastic. I mean, it's what I'm putting on it. I mean, I genuinely love that. So I'm not joking. So John Klein comes in talking about Year of the Turtle. You know what I'm saying? It's very, very poignant issue. It says, "Hey, daddies, I was day and date. I still love the daddies thing.
I still do too. Yeah.
I was day and date with the Archie run, missing only 3 issues, 53, 56, and 61. And when there was no issue 73, I was a very devastated 13-year-old. Especially as I was under the impression the last 2 childhood issues were just a breather arc. Oh, that's bad. Like that young turtles, and then that's all you get. Like I think we talked about that when we reviewed those. Like, okay, if you thought like, all right, but where's my adventures? And that was the last thing you got.
Yeah.
Then Year of the Turtle hit the stands, and I was super excited. The comic looked and read like a good modern comic. I was really hoping it was going to lead into a new series by the creative team. Years later, inker Harvey Mercadiaso came to FanQuest and the Yuma and did a signing, and I got him to sign my first issue.
Oh, that's cool.
And he said he's going to see if you can't find it. I'd love to see an image of that if you could.
Oh yeah,
Also, I also remember the same day of the first issue, there was a Power Rangers CD single with the theme song, convincing my mother to let me buy one more item, and then it turned out it was a CD-shaped gum with the lyrics printed on the leaflet.
Nope.
I recall the gum was as good as baseball packet piece of gum, which is not good. But at least I had a sweet new TMNT comic to read. Now for a hard question. Are you ready for a hard question, Aaron?
I'm ready for it.
Seriously, how can you be mad on vacation?
It's funny you mentioned that. that's a reference to the Bound 2 cover that we did, and
Yes.
my wife and I and our good buddy Lex, we went to a place in Florida called Solomon's Castle, which is really neat. If you haven't been, you should probably go, because it's this artist that basically made his home a castle, and he does all this reclaimed wood and materials and like oil drums and makes all this art, and it's just filled with puns. It's amazing. Anyway, on the way home from that, my wife was in a hip hop mood, so she was putting on all this stuff like 3-6 and whatnot, and then all of a sudden it got to Yeezy, and then Bound 2 came on, and I hadn't thought about that in a minute, and that song is still brilliant. It's strangely enough as it is to say, but yeah. How are you gonna be mad on vacation? Yeah, especially surrounded by all these Jamaicans, right? But but yeah, how are you gonna be mad on vacation? Yeah, because
it can happen.
It can, especially if plans don't go as intended. Because the whole thing about a vacation, generally speaking, I guess, is that you have planned this endeavor, this adventure, this trip, whatever the case may be. And so if things fall apart or impede any of that, I can see you being mad on vacation. Especially if you ask your lady for other ladies, that could be a problem. But
that's true.
Which I think is probably what happened with Kanye there.
How many points do you get for being fresh out the salon, bitch?
How many points? 8.
Yeah. Like, how much can that offset?
Oh,
being mad on vacation if you're fresh out the salon.
Well, see, I would think that you start. That's step 1 of your trip, right? Like, you got to be fresh out the salon to go on vacation. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so, or at least normal
so maybe
people.
you got mad after. Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Afterward.
Yeah, that's that's the beginning. So
I think that anybody who works for a living can easily get mad on vacation, because I think Kanye's point is like, we're already like rich as shit. So like if we're on vacation, how can you be mad, right? Like everything's taken care of. Like we're good. Like we can do whatever we want. How you gonna be mad on vacation? Like, I get that.
Right.
But if you're like working for a living and you plan a vacation for a year and you saved all this money up, and then it turns out like things aren't happening right, it's like somebody like shows their ass or something like that, I can see being mad, being like, this isn't my life, man. I can't just go to Costa Rica whenever the hell I want to.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's a little bit of detachment out of your boy. He's a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like he's lost a little touch with that.
Lost a little touch. Opinion. Yep. I'm right there with you.
But thanks, John, for the email, and thanks for the asking the hard hitting questions. This next one's from our boy Chris Garvey. D&D, manga, and mind's eye. You know what I'm saying? Is the subject line. So, hey guys, listening to the last episode, you're talking about mutating from eating the pepperoni and cheese from pizza. From a recent study regarding the Subway sandwich's tuna fish sandwich, where it was believed there was actually no tuna in the sandwich. DNA in food breaks down when it's cooked, so you wouldn't actually have any active DNA in the pepperoni and sausage to cheese, or cheese, what have you. So it would be from the last living thing you touched. It says, I pronounced manga with a soft A because of the way ma is spoken in Japan. But in the end, it isn't really worth fighting over. Turtles come out and fight people fighting over the pronunciation of manga versus manga.
Oh, dang.
To go along with the face blindness, which I don't have, there is Aphantasia, which I do have. Aphantasia. Aphantasia? That's how I'm going to say it. People with that cannot visualize things in their head. When someone were to tell me to visualize an apple, I don't picture an apple in my head. Instead, I acknowledge that I know what an apple is.
Oh,
I can hear the bite of an apple, feel the texture of an apple, even smell and taste the apple, but I can't picture it. Your Northern Washington correspondent, Chris Garvey.
Goodness. Well, thanks, Chris.
So
thanks for doing that.
That is really, Chris, that is really interesting. Can't visualize things in your head. That is very interesting. I guess if you've always had that, then I guess you wouldn't know the difference. I guess you would just kind of become aware, right? Like the more people are like, now visualize the ocean. And you're like, can people, so you guys can see the ocean, like literally in your head?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like one of those things.
Yeah. Well, it's like when
that's interesting.
It's like a friend of ours. She had some some problems internally, like when she would eat. Like she, I don't know if it was acid reflux or what, but she basically said that she just assumed that everyone felt bad after they ate. That it's just like that's a thing, and that kind of freaks me out because like you never know like what you've like tricked yourself into believing that is just normal when it's not, and or that maybe not that it's not normal, but it's like that there's an issue or something that could be potentially a problem. But yeah, like I think about that stuff all the time. Like, am I thinking about this the right way? Like, is this how other people see this? And as being someone too where I like to think of things outside the box, like I like to be obtuse or like, you know, just different. For instance, like when we played the game of I don't know if obtuse was the right word, but
the like an insult, but
so the game Telephone, you know how the premise is you start it one and you go down the line to see how it's changed. I would be the one that changed the entire thing. Like, just I said something completely different, like unrelated, and that's the way my brain always works. Is like looking for like the I'm gonna do either like things differently. Like I'm just gonna try to do
so
as many things
you would
differently.
Intentionally sabotage games of Telephone.
Oh, absolutely.
To be to screw it all up.
Yeah. So like a youth group and stuff, they would do the game of Telephone as like an icebreaker or something.
Did you object to playing Telephone? Is that why you sabotaged it?
No, I embraced the idea of it because they're like, let's see how it changes because it should be subtle changes or something, and I'm like, well, no, I just made up a whole another sentence, and so then but
you're artificially affecting the experiment.
I know
but you said
but
you're
it's still
leaning into the experiment, but you're not because you just artificially made a different,
precisely
whole different phrase,
right?
But that scraps the experiment,
does it? Because it's the same thing. It's just you take it to 11, you know, as we did on Noah's podcast.
Did they
how
ever
he sees
track
it last
down?
Night.
We're gonna talk about that in a second.
Okay.
Did I'm just really interested in this. I want to ask again. You didn't not want to play this. Like you didn't like scrub this thing because you were like, well, this is stupid. I want to whatever.
Oh yeah, no. It came to me and I just came up with a different sentence.
Ever track down that you had done it? That
no.
Absolutely changed the whole like thing.
I don't recall because I don't really recall, but it was not something that like they had to suss out and like figure, you know, get to the bottom of this. But it was more just like I probably said something funny or at least weird enough to where whoever the last person is had to say it. Like them saying that would be funny.
Okay.
And so it had nothing to do with me not doing it. It's just that
for some reason, I don't know why I'm having this like
I was like
deep I'm having this deep like reaction to you doing that. I think it's like it's hitting on something of mine that like it's bothering me. Like
interesting.
I can't like much like how Chris Garvey can't visualize things in his head. I can't like understand why you would do that.
Yeah. Well, that's what I guess the point I was trying to make is that like you know how when people try to do the whole thing with like where they say don't think of an elephant, you're going to think of an elephant. Well, like I try to make my like set it up to where my brain is like no. Like you know what I'm saying? Like I try to like circumvent any kind of things where like something is like expected of me, I guess. And it's subverting expectations is essentially what my whole thing is. But the problem is that at some point I get so into it that I forget if that's like, is that how I actually thought, or am I subverting their expectations? Like what you kind of lose yourself.
Am I subverting my own expectations?
Right. And so
it's a poison chalice game because then like if you've already subverted them, if your default is subverting, then subverting is doing the expected thing.
Precisely. Exactly. And yes, thank you.
You should not break the telephone game because that's expected that you're going to break it.
Well, I haven't played a game of Telephone in years, so I mean, you can't. You know, the statute of limitations has been far exceeded. Well, that brings us to
the next thing. Why won't you sign up for the Telephone League?
Oh,
it's been 3 years now.
3 years.
We've been doing it for 3 years.
Sorry,
everybody has a lot of fun with it. You're the only person that doesn't sign up.
I was the holdout.
Sign up. It's called the Eric Crosby Memorial Telephone League.
Right.
I don't know why you won't sign up.
It,
we named it that after Eric threw his back out that one really bad time, and we were pretty convinced he was dead.
Yeah.
But it keeps the name, but he hasn't signed up.
It's true.
And yeah. All right. Well, more suspensions on the way.
Yeah.
But thank you very much, Chris. That was a great email.
Absolutely.
Turtles come out and fight people who see. I feel like turtles come out and fight people that go manga versus manga.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we do need to save that for a. I
wrote it down.
Turtles come out and fight that.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you right now that, like, just to give you a preview,
it's right there.
Half the turtles would say it one way, and the other half would say it the other way. That's the start.
That's true.
Out.
That's the start.
The origin is that like someone says it out loud, like they dance around it, like it's Pat style. They dance around it for like years. Like, they're all reading like Japanese comics, like all of them.
Well,
and they just somehow don't say if it's manga or manga, or if like someone does say manga, like something crashes in the background and they don't hear it, but they heard the M part and they knew what he said by context.
Yeah.
Until one day they all four say it at the same time,
and
then it's two different ways.
Right, and that. Or they just ask Splinter, depending on which iteration it is, because he's somehow either Japanese or influenced by it, or he would probably be more of an authority.
But Yoshi would know. He would know.
Yeah, definitely. But we wrote it down, so it's down there. It's up there.
Exactly.
So yeah, we got that one.
So before we really get into the content and stuff, I did want to drop a little plug for our long listener, dear friend Noah Overton. We were on his podcast, How He Sees It, last night.
Oh, yeah.
We recorded an episode on This Is Spinal Tap, and Eric and I both were on it, which was a huge blast.
It was. So thank you, Noah, for that.
And Steve have a great podcast, and you really should go check it out.
Absolutely.
And if you're of the cocktail making persuasion, you should be listening to it for that alone, because they get creative, man.
They do.
Like,
they do.
It's not like, well, today I got, because a lot of podcasts do the what beer you drinking. A lot of them do that. And it's like, well, I got this craft beer, and it's like, okay, well, what's the craft beer? And they're like, well, turns out apricots. And they're like, that's cool. Like, is it local? Yeah. Right. And then that's it.
And that's it.
These guys open up the full liquor cabinet. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't even know what's going on, and it's themed. You know what I'm saying? So that episode should be coming out here pretty soon. So you should go check that out and listen to them, because they're pretty great.
Oh yeah, thanks again, Noah, for that. That was a lot of fun. So
I tell you what, are you ready to get into these comic books, my man?
I think so. I'm almost ready. Let's see
You're
here. Yeah, I'm almost ready. I'm gonna do the slime.
Ooh, slime.
All right, here we are. Man.
Welcome. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Adventures. The return of Adventures. I'm sure that many kids saw this hit the stands, much like our dear friend John Klein III back in the day and date, and they went, oh my
Snap.
God, Adventures is back. Mom.
Right.
This book. You know what I'm saying? They were probably all over this jam. Now,
oh yeah,
we know from the perspective of history that this was the last shot for Adventures, and obviously a book by Dan Slott, and it's a different kind of story. But when you saw it hit the stands, this is what you saw. This is issue 1 of the Year of the Turtle trilogy. And Eric, off the bat, this cover.
This cover, 6 to Midnight. Like, I'm seeing two of my favorite properties. Like, well, an homage to at least one of them. You got the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in full glory. They look really neat. Not my favorite turtles, but they're interesting to say the least, and they're pretty. They don't look like the worst things I've ever seen. And then you've got these characters that are brightly colored and have helmets on, colored with different white accents. They look a whole lot like the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I'm just saying.
Oh, they do.
And it's evocative enough of that to probably get any kid thinking that, like, because this is 96, so MMPR came out 93, I think. Yes, because I was 10. So yeah. So it came out in 93. So this is 3 years later. So like 3 seasons of Power Rangers, and they are the biggest thing. Like by season 3, they should have already had the movie that came out. And yeah, so they were huge. Like everybody knew who they were.
Oh.
And pretty much like they were the ones who supplanted the Turtles, like, or usurped their throne, if you will, of like Saturday morning, or well, whenever it came on. And yeah, they took over the toy aisle, and it was just everything. So seeing both of these on the same cover fighting in typical, like, when two superhero groups meet each other, they're gonna fight fashion, it's pretty neat. I love the I don't know what you'd call it. I don't know if it still works, but on CDs and records in Japan, like, they have the Obi strip on the side, and that's what this reminds me of, with the Year of the Turtle on the side with the Archie masthead kind of thing up there. But then the thing that's really interesting, I don't know how I feel about it, because it seems kind of like graphic designer's Basic Instinct kind of thing, where like, oh, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they all have 4 individual weapons. Let's just put each one, like a representation of it, into the logo. And part of me thinks it looks good for like the art that is done, but as far as the actual like idea of that, I kind of cringe at it. And maybe that's me just being a snob. I don't know. Who knows? But
I cringe a bit too.
Yeah.
I don't know if I 100% like that. To be total with you there.
It's kind of cheesy. I mean, I know we were talking about cheese in the pregame show, but like, this is the kind of cheese you can't hang with that. But it's still well done. It's just I don't know. But it's a different. I do like that it's different. That it's like, it's not our normal like animated series logo that we were used to seeing on Adventures.
Yeah, it's different.
It's
all original.
Precisely, and stuff. So that's kind of neat. But the colors. The thing about Sentai and Power Rangers in general are that those colors just pop, and those suit designs, these are okay. They're not anything really to write home about, but nevertheless, the colors, it's just it gets me in the feels. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, this is just a lot of my favorite things, or at least like a representation of them, all in one cover. So I'm a big fan of this.
Yeah. So so issue number 1 from January of '96, and that's 150 pennies. You know
that is 150
if you're nasty. So yeah, this is the Year of the Turtle, Chapter 1, Go Mutant Turtles. And you have your credits for this one are your writer is Dan Slott. You know, Dan Slott went on to write for Spider-Man for a very, very long time.
Yep.
He's had a huge a storied career in comic writing. And pencils is Hugh Haynes, who did a lot of Punisher work.
Okay.
So,
I didn't realize that.
So this is kind of like your thing. And we'll get into, let's see here. Full disclosure, this scan, for whatever reason, the resolution's kind of funny in it. Kind of hard to read sometimes. Like, I'm sure, as you can see on the screen, it's a little bit like, that's hard to read. But yeah, so you've got Dan Slott writing. You've got pencils is Hugh Haynes. Inks, you have Harvey Mercadagio.
Mercadocasio?
Yeah, that is a very
interesting name. Yes.
And then I can't read the next name.
It says
the other inker.
It says Phil Sheeny, I think.
Phil Sheeny. Okay.
Yeah, and
I know
then
this is brilliant podcasting, but like I said, for whatever reason, this is just like really hard to read.
It is.
Like it's just kind of tough. But you've got Philip Lynch on colors. You've got Jeff Powell letters. Freddie Mendez editor. Victor Gorlick is your managing editor.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
welcome back. And Richard Goldwater is your editor in chief at this time.
Right.
So yeah, that's your crew.
That's
your creds. That's your people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we are going to open up. So we open up with a man kind of wearing jeans, but also kind of a gi kind of thing going on. and he's in the bedroom of a kid. This is very Princess Bride kind of esque, like the way.
Oh,
the
I didn't even
feeling
think about
behind
that.
this.
But yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Very Princess Bride opening, right? You got the grandfather and his grandson there, they're telling the story kind of thing. We see adorning the walls, though, a lot of reference to the Mighty Mecha Power Raiders, which is our knockoff Power Rangers in this comic. We see the kid, obviously has like a comforter replete with the characters. I think everybody had that Mighty Morphin Power Rangers comforter and sheet set. And some still do. You know what I'm saying? Your boy Eric had it until right after I met him. It was take naps on it.
We did.
So we see, so it's kind of settling in to be a bedtime story situation. This kind of father figure promises to tell the last tale of the turtles. Okay, this is the last installment, and he says the story opens with the turtles' greatest foe, Shredder. And you see that the kid kind of has a reaction, kind of like, oh my God, and he's like, well, if you don't want to hear it, he's like, no, tell me. He's like, okay, here we go. So your boy Shredder is at the mount of an ancient temple. Your boy Shredder
just
is
rolling up.
His Foot Clan ninjas are dicking the dirt down. It's real bad. The chieftain protecting this temple has all his people are still on fleek. They got their swords. It's like, let's do this. Shredder's by himself, and he's doing that thing like this is your last chance. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
And one of two things is gonna happen. When the crazy guy who's by himself is against like 50 people.
Yeah.
And he says, basically, this is your last chance. Either he's about to die real bad like an idiot, or he's gonna kill all y'all.
Yeah, it's 50-50.
And the chieftain's like, all your men have fallen before us, stranger. You are in no position to bargain. And your boy Shredder's like, well, I mean, you were warned. And yeah, Shredder absolutely destroys all these men. Not a problem.
Yes.
Walks up the steps, goes to the chieftain. He's like, I need a talisman. Yeah. Excuse me, talisman. And chieftain's like, it's at the top of the table. You probably saw it, sir, on your approach. It's right past me. And he gets yeeted just off the temple by Shredder. He comes across a piece of jade stone that is, of course, one piece of a talisman. We'll come to find out, and it looks kind of like a little slice of lime. And I kind of wish I had it like in my tea.
Oh yeah.
We get our beautiful like one-page splash here title card. Year of the Turtle, Chapter 1. Go Mutant Turtles with Shredder. Resplendent. It's mine. And what do you think about this Shredder character design?
So
we're in red. We're in red for Shredder, which is interesting. What do you think about that?
It's very Mirage-esque, and I would have never put the Punisher connection together until you said it. And now I a lot of the stuff that I've seen in these comics, I see those Punisher comics, and I'm like, oh, that's sick. Like in retrospect, or as I'm thinking about it now, and now as we're going through it again. So yeah, it looks fantastic, and this Shredder, it looks great. The red is interesting. Like I don't know if it's my favorite, but he does look badass, and the art is obviously great. But like, I love everything about this Shredder's like attitude and his like persona, where he's just like, because we get so like, especially here on the show, because we see Shredder being a buffoon often, and it's
more often than not,
right. And he's
the punchline, he's the joke.
Precisely. And so I love seeing him be able to actually do things. Now, we did see that in the manga, where he was able to do a little bit of that, but there was still some goofy stuff there. But seeing him being a formidable force to be reckoned with, it's great. And he's subtle in this, like with his design, but it's still sleek and to the point, if you know what I'm saying.
I like the lack. I gotta be honest. I like the lack of a cape. I think that's really cool. Normally he has his cape. I like the lack of a cape here. And I do like the design, and it is really interesting to see, and we'll see this more as from the art of the book as we go forward. It is really interesting to see the turtles drawn in a more conventional Big Two comic style. This could have just been a Marvel comic, it's very standard art for Marvel for the era, Marvel or DC for the era.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see them in this style, right?
Absolutely. I want to.
Because
Yeah.
even in Image, and when we have like Image artists working later,
Mm,
that's in a very like bleeding edge Image style,
yeah.
right? Like you see a lot of those turtles, like the bleeding edge, like mid '90s style.
Mm,
But this is a very kind of a rare look at a mid '90s era correct big two art style, which
right.
you rarely see the turtles in.
It's
Really,
kind of like when your favorite indie band gets signed to a major label, and so they have the slick production of a major label, but they still have the indie like cred and stuff.
yeah,
It's kind of like that, where they put this out and it's like the major label, but then like it doesn't do too well, so then they go back to the indie stuff with Image later. But I wanted to say
yeah,
something about the cape thing that you mentioned. That as I'm looking back through it,
sure,
the beautiful thing about that, and I hadn't thought about it until you just said it, but like it makes Shredder almost unassuming. Yes, he's got the blades and stuff, so he
yeah,
does have something that sets him apart, but other than that, he really looks like another ninja. And if he had a cape,
yeah.
you would think that is like, it's almost like a crutch for him, or like something that's like he can like that commands like your respect, I guess, in a way, or like at least you think differently of him than his subordinates. And I love the fact that, again, this is just an unassuming type figure look for him and stuff. And so to your that was an excellent point.
The times he appears without a cape, I really like it. I like being able to see his form. I think that
Yeah.
like him, like especially when he's drawn without a cape, moving more gracefully,
Mm-hmm.
you can kind of see more of his physical form, more of his fighting style.
Oh yeah.
And a cape usually hides a lot of that, like subtle
Mm-hmm.
body art that you have to kind of do to like really mimic the movement of, say, he's like jump kicking or something like that.
Right.
And here we see throughout this book that when he's in motion, it just looks cooler. Yeah, I mean
It
it's a little
does.
counterintuitive. You think, oh well, I mean capes look great in motion, and they do, but
Mm.
I agree. I think seeing it a little differently is really cool.
Yeah.
So we cut to about the most Punisher looking panel you could probably imagine, which is Raphael, hanging some street punk over the off a building in the middle of New York,
Yep.
and he is trying to shake down this fella for information on the green talismans of the 13th house.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, this guy who knows him by name.
Yeah.
This punk's like, I swear, Raph, I swear, and he's like, don't have any information because, like, let's be honest. Like, I mean, green talismans. You know what I'm saying? This guy's probably like, did you mean some green TV I stole the other day? Did you mean the green Converse All Stars I stole off a kid this morning? Like, he's on that level. He's not on the green talisman to the 13th house level. But this is, Raph says later, this is how he always gets his info. You know what I'm saying? He's just going back to the well. He goes back to what works. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Of course, we in a panel where it looks like Raph's going to drop him off the building. He actually kind of just drops him on the roof of this building and kind of heads home.
Right.
Where he talks to Splinter, and we get a little exposition on this whole talisman situation. Splinter explains, not everyone knows about the Chinese Zodiac, where each year is represented by one of the 12 animals. Less know of the elusive 13th creature, the turtle, whose year this year comes only once in a millennium. And only a few know of the green talismans of the 13th house, which can focus the astrological energies present into untold power. I feel like he was going to keep going. And even less people know that they're very powerful. And only like one person, that's me, knows, only I know, that the convergence is happening this year and that we got to get the kept going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody knows. You're like, why are you saying that? How does no one know? I mean, like, what do you but yeah, and once again, very, very like kind of run of the mill, like, era, big two art, which I appreciate. Like I said, it's interesting to see the turtles in this kind of format.
Yeah.
So, Splinter does kind of get on Raph a little bit for his methods. He's like, but I mean, I don't think street punks, because I just got done saying how like almost nobody knows what these things are. I don't think this guy knows about the green stones. And he's like, well, whatever. So they get back to the lair, and we see that all the turtles are there, kind of doing things in their own way to try to figure out they're doing some heavy research on these damn talismans.
Right.
And so you got Donnie. Donnie hits the internet. Donnie's like, I did an internet search. Nothing. And Splinter's like, my son, the internet is in its early stage. I mean, like, how you do the internet? Where is green talisman of 13 house. Like
Right.
I don't know
And-
like what kind of Alta Vista like results
Yeah.
you're gonna get
in
on
96
that, but
especially.
yeah, yeah. And sometimes they kind of pat it off saying like, well, Donnie's a hacker, so he has access to like government or like
Right.
police databases where they might have more actual information.
Yeah.
Very wrong. The internet was around. It was hopping in 96, but I mean like I don't know. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like if you're on like excite.com trying to figure
Like,
this thing out.
I don't know
what
that
you're
Jeeves
doing.
isn't going to know the answer, so
Jeeves ain't gonna know the answer to
He ain't
this.
got
You know
it.
what I'm saying? So we find that Leo has probably made the most progress so far, because he's been looking through, I guess, his own old scrolls. Because they always refer to him as Leo's scrolls, even though I'm kind of like, I mean, you sure you didn't borrow those from Splinter or something? 'Cause I feel like Leo's like, well, I just have these scrolls, so I'm gonna read these.
So
And,
well, he says from the library, so like it could just mean like the New York Public Library, that they just have these scrolls there that Leo goes up in whiteface.
So like Leonard went, so Leo went out in like whiteface and he got
Yep.
it, he made it happen.
Exactly.
And it went down.
He has his library
I
card.
prefer to think I just love that everyone keeps calling it Leo's scrolls, and I'm like, I just like to think that Leo's like, I mean, I'm not an idiot. I mean, I found these old scrolls.
Right.
You got to have some information. I mean,
Yeah.
they're my scrolls.
I mean,
yeah, they're mine. Yeah.
Somebody flushed
My
them.
scrolls.
Somebody flushed them, but they're mine now, you know?
Yeah,
And
so I mean, how, have they found them right into the sewer? I found them. You know what I'm saying? Mikey said they were decorative toilet paper. I said that's not true.
That's not true.
That's kanji, and that's very ancient, and we're going to keep that. And now we have the secrets to the talisman. Well, yeah, Leo's pulled up some good results. He's like, turns out that there may be one hidden in Tibet. And Splinter's like, well, thank God, at least somebody's doing something. Mikey, what are you doing? And Mikey's like, bro, I've been looking all over the media, man, and I'm watching Power Rangers. And everyone's like, are you goddamn kidding me? And it turns out that that's what he's doing. He's watching Power Rangers, but they cut in. Sorry, Power Raiders. Excuse me.
Yes.
Commitment to excellence over here. April cuts in and lets everybody know that the Mighty Mecha Power Raiders will be at Radio City Music Hall. Actually, they're right now out there, putting their faces out there to be seen and seen, and they're gonna be here all week. And they're like, wow, that's kind of crazy. Wow, that's really cool. And then Leo's like, wait a minute.
What's that?
What's that on the White Ranger's belt?
Right.
Would that be a
talisman?
Green talisman at 13 now? And that's what it is. So they're like, you've got to be shipping. And you know that like Splinter had to be like, I don't understand how this happened. And Mikey's like, it worked.
Right.
Watch the TV. They're like, no, okay. It did not. That reinforces really, really shitty habit. You shouldn't just do that. But they're off before Splinter has much time to like basically all he has time to say is like, remember where the planets are aligning and you have to figure this out.
Yeah.
Bye.
Like it's imperative.
And they run. But before they leave, Donnie, and I got to be honest, I guess in a household where like no one knows how to use the computer but Donnie, I guess like there's no one to like double check Donnie and be like, Donnie, that's not smart.
Yeah,
Donnie says, coming, just got to update the surfers on my website. Now I like squinted at this kind of rough scan, and I was kind of like, does that say servers? Because servers would make sense.
Right.
Like, I got to update the servers. Like, this is a thing I do from a website. No.
Nope.
He is basically on a message board at like probably at doesmachines.net, okay, where he's at. Because you know it was doesmachines.net. That's what it was in 96. He is effectively live blogging the fact that they are about to head out to go jump the Power Rangers to get the talisman back. Let me just go.
Right.
I mean, using this shit like Twitter. It's pretty great.
It is.
He is live tweeting the event. That will come back to bite everyone in the ass.
Absolutely.
So back in the lair, your boy Splinter or your boy Shredder's laid out. He appears weirdly to have a cape for a minute. Then I think you kind of realized for a hot minute that that's just his like weird, like that's his weird like thing he sits on.
Right.
Like it's really weird, like how he's not consistently shown with a cape on. But here it looks like he has one. It's really odd. But anyway, he's sitting on this
it just looks like he's sitting on a bunch of tubes, like tubes, like vacuum tubes that have the rivets in them, I guess.
Yeah.
And or this dude's hair, one of the two, like his other lackey's hair, like
no, we got your boy Cyberious. We're gonna get into him in a minute.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just strange because then like when he sits up though at the bottom of the page,
you're right.
It looks like it's on him.
That's true.
That's what made me doubt it. Then I went forward some frames. I'm like, yeah, I thought he didn't have a cape, and sure enough, later on he doesn't. I'm like, that's weird. Weird art, or maybe weird coloring to make that look like that. But yeah, so we cut in from our narrator who's telling this story. He says, alas, Donatello should have been more careful.
Mm-hmm.
For the information he gave his friends, he unwittingly gave to his enemies as well. Let that be a lesson to all of you, because Shredder's got some friends. And I actually kind of like the fact that in this universe, Shredder just hangs out with people with superpowers.
That is interesting.
That's a very conventional comics move out of this, and you can tell that you've got like a lot of Marvel pedigree here between Dan Slott, and the artist coming in. This feels like more of a superhero book. Yeah. And you got some bad guys. The first one we're going to meet is Cyberious, who is a guy who apparently interfaces with computers through old USB cables that come out of his body, and all of his hair is also cables.
Yes.
I would think that the best thing about being Cyberious would be that you probably would never or don't have an adapter for something.
Yeah, you're just like a walking Radio Shack essentially.
You're probably like, oh, VGA to D sub, damn. Right. But like your boy's like, well, I mean, I just plug my finger is VGA and my ankle is D sub, and there your monitor works.
Right.
But
these things, he's weird. So his hair is these things, like these connections, and then he's got like wrist bracelets, like arm bracelets, thigh bracelets, and ankle bracelets that all have this stuff coming out of him too. And so it's very strange.
They appear to be prehensile.
Yes.
Like you see them like moving around, and they each are prehensile, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, Cyberious is like, oh man, basically he's like, you will not believe this, my man. Listen, Shredder, listen. Donnie is live tweeting on his Alta Vista business. He's live tweeting everything they're doing. They're gonna go to see the Power Rangers, and they're gonna get the stone. And he's like, well, that's annoying. And Cyberious also says, turns out also that Donnie left himself connected to the internet, so I can go into all of his files, and it's pretty cool.
Find the lair. Yep.
I can just find the lair. I can do whatever I want, and so he prints out a hard copy because one hard copy coming up. You know what I'm saying? Now it is snatched in the air by a lady named T.K.O. We're introduced to T.K.O. and Psonic.
Yeah,
spelled with a P.S. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Sonic, silent P. You know what I'm saying? That kind of makes up the criminal enterprise that Shredder's hanging out with. TKO is basically just super like kind of Jean Grey telekinesis kind of powers in a big way without the mind element of it. Yeah. So you can just move stuff around. Very, very telekinesis. And we'll see what Sonic does in a minute. But she takes the thing and they're playing around a little bit, and that's when Shredder says, enough prattle. You know what I'm saying? Enough prattle. We're going to do this stuff. So, Sonic, take TKO and the boy and get me the second talisman. I will deal with the Rat Man personally.
Ooh, the Rat Man. The rat-faced dude guy.
On those streets, we outside Radio City Music Hall, go Power Raiders. Everybody is there. The Power Raiders are doing all their katas and all their grandstand, all their what do they call it? Emblem? What they insignia?
Oh,
they're doing all their insignias.
Yeah.
There's insignias. There's katas going on up there, and everyone down on the street side is going nuts. April's back, and she's just like, oh my god, look at him. And the turtles drop in.
Real quick though, so April's look is totally different, and so is her camera crew. Channel 6, something's gone on in 1996 with Channel 6. Like they've gotten a little bit more liberal.
Modernified. April's hair Her and her camera woman both look more like multi-ethnic than they normally do, which I appreciate. I mean,
Oh,
April
absolutely.
started as a multi-ethnic character. Yeah, she's got the short shirt and all this stuff like that. I guess the main reason I kind of didn't want to harp on her too much is that she doesn't really come into the story.
She doesn't,
Spoiler alert.
but it's still like, I don't know. It's still like really strange that that's the way that.
Oh, it is.
But I guess I mean, and they look punk, like they look like they're just street punks, and so it's very strange that they would be the ones that in this day and time, like in New York, in a comic book like that's kind of based in a little bit of like reality, that would be the looks that they would choose to have. I don't know.
I like that they appear to be, definitely not as whitewashed as April.
Oh, absolutely.
Channel 6 crew were normally. I can't say I'm a huge fan of what we get of what this, and then one panel of April at the very end.
Right.
I can't say I'm a huge fan of the character design. I think it goes it leans a little too much into like, it's the future and everybody's edgy. Yeah.
Exactly.
A little bit.
Right.
But whatever. So the turtles confront the Power Raiders and they're like, give me your belt, basically. This is like a put on the glasses from They Live situation. It's like it
totally is.
The first time Keith David's like, no. You're like, this is going to be the best scene in cinematic history. And that's basically what happens here. They're like, give me your belt. This guy goes, why would I ever do that? Why would I ever give you my belt?
Right.
And fights happen a lot. Now, the turtles seem to be really, really stunting on the fact that they managed to incapacitate 4 actors.
Yes. Yeah.
In a matter of moments.
Gymnast at best. Maybe
martial arts background.
Right.
You're looking at maybe top Ernie Reyes Jr. level of I've got martial arts background. I've got whatever. That's fine. That does not mean you're a daily practicer. You are not a daily driver of martial arts. Like, I whip people's ass every day because I'm a turtle.
Exactly.
Also, you're a turtle.
Yeah.
Like, you have your
mutated DNA
performance. You're like a physical beast.
Yes.
And they do acknowledge it. Like, they're like, yeah, what about that, bitch? Like, they're like almost like teabagging these guys.
Oh yeah, doing the suck it sign and everything. Oh yeah.
And it's really toxic. And then Donnie's like, what'd you expect? They're only actors. I was like, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
The minute they went to fight these guys, I was like, are you really gonna fight like those like 22-year-old kids? Like, are you really gonna do that?
Yeah.
And they did.
And in front of everybody in New York and on presumably national TV.
How many children are crying right now?
Right.
How many children are actually just crying down there?
Yeah.
Anyway. Leo once again says, now, as I was saying, we need that belt. Turns out, and they never, ever, ever, ever reveal this.
Right.
I really hate that they don't, Dan Slott. The White Ranger goes, yeah, Turtle Boy, come and get it. And he activates the actual, talisman on his belt and goes Super Saiyan.
Right.
Now, it is never addressed. How did he know? So Splinter already went out and said that you have to be one of 4 actual people to know what this thing even is. Okay? And Splinter and Shredder are 2 of them. You know what I'm saying? Like, how's this kid know what this is? They never explain it.
They don't.
Ever?
I don't. So the only thing I can think of is that either he didn't know that it would do something, like that he might have gone and grabbed it to be like, come and get it, and then this just happened, which is very convenient. But that is a thing that could have happened, or he might have. It's kind of tricky how the talisman work.
It seems,
but
so the Turtle Boy line sounds like I'm jawing it before I whip your ass. I'm jawing up right now because I'm about to power up. Versus if the line was Warmer Riders Room this for a second. If you see his hand shaking and he goes, oh, okay, oh my God, don't hurt me, and he goes to turn it to take the belt off and he Super Saiyans, I'd be like, oh damn, that'd be nuts. But Turtle Boy didn't come and get it as he's going through his own group mutation,
Right.
as he's doing his own group mutation. I don't know. And they never explain how this like actor kid knows how to activate the talisman, but he does.
Right. But the other ones presumably tried to fight the turtles too, and it's like if they didn't want to fight, then they would have like the turtles are seasoned enough at this point to know. See, that's what's still strange about this is that and you're not wrong by any means, but because what this it feels like it could have been that these were bad guys that were doing this. Like it could have easily been written as that, and that kind of seems like the tropes that it's going down. Like, but the way I could see it too is that this is a guy that's just like he's an actor that's a martial artist that just might have an ego and some pride, and it's like, oh well, he's just gonna you fought these dudes, well I'll fight you back, but you want this, come and get it, and he taps on it, and then it's like, oh, all of a sudden I've got this power that's like taking over me. Like you never know. But I do agree that I feel like it doesn't articulate that. You're kind of just left to your own.
I just feel like if you're in a real fight, if you're really going to be like, you know what, like, you know, those other four guys are like, they don't know anything. I'm going to actually like day in day, like I kickbox every day. I'll whip this guy's ass. If you think that for real, you're not going to take time and click your belt like your actual like mutant like Power Raiders power, your Mighty Mecha Power Raiders power, like that is actually a real thing. You would just start attacking him, like right, like you wouldn't be like, let me do this affectation of this click for like no reason and then go fight you. He obviously knows this is going to happen.
Well, the reason he did it was because that's the object of his aggressor's like desire. Like he's wanting that belt. He's like, come and get it. And it's like, so I could see that he would touch it then, but then again, this is comics. They have to do some things. They can't just be like fight. I mean,
I'm just gonna say, I feel you. I feel you on that. I do. I'm gonna let you finish. I would say, that's an really old reference now.
That is.
There was a long time where it wasn't. I'm gonna say this is a plot hole.
It definitely feels like that. It feels like that.
We can like, we can try to, devil's advocate for it, and it's interesting to talk about. This is just a plot hole for me. Because he seems to know exactly dead ass what's about to happen, and there's no indication. And it's one thing if like the power, this talisman always had power, like so he found it like years ago. Like somebody put it on the outfit. Maybe they didn't even know what it was. They found it somewhere in like antique shop, and they put it on the outfit. And it's always active. And this guy found out like, oh shit. Like I was like training like by myself just with the outfit on to get comfortable with it. And I was Super Saiyan. And it's real. And I know it, but I'm like holding on to it and I'm hiding it in plain sight. Right. But Splinter is very clear that like these talismans only work once every millennia.
Yes. That's
no one knows about them. Very few. You know what I'm saying? And like, why would he know to activate it now? So that's just a plot hole. It just is. Not that I hate it. This panel is actually really cool. Him powering up looks great.
It does look great.
That Kirby crackle. I'm a big fan of that. I'm a huge fan of that crackle. But then we cut back, and we see your boy Shredder hopping into the sewer, and it's going down.
Oh yeah.
At this time in the Turtles' lair, Splinter is about to make an important discovery, and that's when Splinter simultaneously goes, "Oh, I just read this, so that's where it is." Oh shit! And here comes like Shredder full on.
Right.
And they have a fight. It's really intense. We kind of cut back and forth between the Turtles and this Shredder fight. Shredder does have the one piece of talisman at this point. And he is kind of more powerful. You can see him really running kind of circles around Splinter when maybe he shouldn't be able to mano-a-mano.
Right.
But he is. And it feels to me that this panel kind of says like Splinter's having to do like every single thing he can to like just tread water against Shredder right now.
Yeah.
Right? Like in this fight.
And Shredder does something in this that I kind of like, where he just breaks weapons. He just breaks anything you throw at him, he's going to break it. And like he breaks Splinter's burnt Cheeto, walking stick. Instantly. Yeah, and so, but that fight scene looks really neat. Like I don't know, it's just really well done. Like you keep saying, classic, Big Two style and stuff. And it's pretty neat. But this book has the feeling is there, the dread and the vibe and all that stuff is definitely in this book, and it's evocative here in this image too.
It does, so like, and for example, like coming back to the turtles, I mean, they said the talisman's giving him too much power. He's eating us up like popcorn. And Donnie says, imagine if the guy actually knew martial arts. So this guy doesn't even know martial arts. Like,
right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So Splinter does say, or Shredder says, I've been waiting a long time for this old man. So this is obviously, you know, I love how like, you know, there's always these like kind of clues that you, when you read a lot of turtle stuff, you pick up on that like tell you what origin continuity you're in.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And here you're kind of like, okay, we are in Hamato Yoshi origin Splinter.
Right.
We're in Oroku Nagi. Right. Shredder.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and for guys people that don't know, like the original Mirage comics, the Shredder is the younger brother of the man that Hamato Yoshi actually killed. So like it's a revenge for my older brother origin story, and not a you literally like ruined me and I'm coming for you story, because Shredder referring to him as old man, it gives a kind of a combination of animated series origin, where you have Hamato Yoshi is Splinter, not comic or movie origin where Splinter is Hamato Yoshi's rat, but you've got Shredder saying basically he's an old man, which means he's younger than Hamato Yoshi, which is great. So die, you know what I'm saying, is what your boy Shredder says. And he knocks he puts your boy on hush mouth. He does. In a comic, if you have an ellipses in a word bubble for what the words you're trying to say, you're on hush mouth. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that's what it is. He's on hush mouth. So Shredder grabs the scrolls that your boy is looking through and kind of figures out like, all right, cool. Like it's in a Himalayan fortress. I got this, boys. But when he looks back down, your boy Splinter has pulled the old ninja vanish. And Shredder's like, well. Yep. Calls him a coward, says you can blend into the shadows all you want. It's all good. I'll have the world will be mine when I have the 3 pieces. And I got the other 2. The 2, I got 1. Second one's coming up from the theater. And also, by the way, I'm going to get that one too. Right. So go ahead and hide, you scaredy cat. I'm out of here. And he leaves. Meanwhile, I actually really love this. I love this a lot. Your boy White Ranger is like, I'm going to drop kick you in the face, Leonardo, about as hard as you've ever been kicked, plus talisman power. So you are going to have your man parts in the dirt, if one would say. Yeah. And your boy Leo just cuts that damn belt right off your boy, and it is not embarrassing enough that he instantly like is. Do we say like that you de-Saiyan? Like, what's the phrase when you come out of Super Saiyan?
See, I don't know. I don't know much about Dragon Ball, so.
Okay, I don't know much either, but I'm gonna say that we have either a de-Saiyan or a retro Saiyan. But he is unsaiyaned. You could say that as well.
There you go. That works.
He powers down. Not only does your boy get powered down mid like victory kick, right? Not only does he royally bust his ass when he lands, but his pants fall down because Leo cuts his damned belt off. And that is amazing. It is 3 panels over 2 pages, and I love every bit of it, especially the reveal that the White Ranger wears Power Ranger underwear. Right. That is the best. Leo gets on him in 100% Mirage style. I will just actually cut your head off now. And he's like, no hard feelings, huh? Pal? You know me, I'm just a guy. I don't know how talisman works, but apparently it's activated. Don't kill me. And Leo smashes his entire face mask in with his head. Right. And
which
all
like of this seems a little excessive. Like the turtles are acting. Yeah, the turtles are acting as if these actors, like on this kids' TV show, know what the talisman is and know, like, like have any kind of like the turtles. The fact that the turtles come in like guns blaring or blazing like that just seems
Sure.
very like
That'd be like a
uncharacteristic.
mismatch. I
It
agree.
does.
I agree. I agree. It seems like they're a little aggro, and you don't necessarily know why. It
Mm,
feels a little bit like Slot was trying to put them in a fight, like, and show that like they just whip ass, right?
right.
But we know that's not really the Turtles' jam, really.
Mm,
So this does feel a little odd. Maybe part of it's just like, well, like maybe a little of it's fueled by the fact that like the TMNT are real like
mm,
ninjas, right? But they see these like, oh yeah, well I'll fight you guys on
yeah.
TV. You know how exaggerated it was. Maybe they see enough of it on TV and they're kind of like, that really pisses me off because it sounds like what you're doing is taking my thing and you're just like doing weird motions and like you're being dubbed over in English and it kind of pisses me off. Like
Right.
maybe it's one of those like if you want
Mm,
to act like you only play a ninja on TV, then
right.
let's get in the streets and see how that is. Maybe it's a
Right.
little pent up anger from that.
It could be. I
Also, it could be a bit of a statement. It
that
could honestly be a bit of a statement from Slot,
that's what I
and
think it is.
much like Captain America, punching Adolf Hitler,
Mm-hmm.
being a statement. This is the Turtles, the original,
Mm-hmm.
kind of weird ninja characters going and beating up today's replacement
Right.
for the
Exactly.
TMNT, right? Like
Exactly.
that team of ninjas. Maybe do you think
That's
that's
what
more like what it is?
I think. There's definitely a metatextual thing
Like
here,
symbolism? Yeah.
if not intentional. I think Slot, which I love Slot. I like a lot of his stuff.
Yeah.
I think that if it wasn't mandated, which I don't think it was, I think it was one of those things. He saw the writing on the wall that like this is the next thing that's coming
Oh,
up,
yeah.
and he's like, but let me. But the turtles were his thing, and he was too old for the Power Rangers possibly. So I could see a
Yeah.
metatextual thing there, but story wise, it might be the expediency of or not expediency, the fact that they're on a time crunch, that they have to
Oh, for
get this
sure.
thing, and so they don't have time for niceties and stuff. Like they got to get to they got to get them to the Greek or whatever.
Yeah, that's a big one. Splinter does give them this motivation, like, look, like we got with all the moons and aligned and Saturn's in the 3rd
Mhm.
house, like this thing's gonna blow up, so we gotta get going. Yeah, no, he does. He just smashes that guy's face mask in, pretty great. The Turtles are kind of like, oh my god, and Leo says, yeah, I just got lucky, caught him with his
Mhm.
pants down.
Caught
You
him
know
with
what
his
I'm
pants
saying?
down. Yep.
Turns out, Donnie looking a hell of a lot like he does in the movies in this one panel.
Oh
For
yeah.
some reason, the eyes, I don't know what
Yeah.
it is.
I can see it.
He's like, y'all, where'd the belt go? And it turns out, guess who's got the belt? Your girl T.K.O. She's in the
Mhm.
crowd. She's like, I got telekinesis. And she grabs the belt and she's just like, bye. I got it. Thank you. And
Mhm.
she even says, yeah. No. Sonic says, I'll take it back, TKO. Telekinesis rules. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
it does.
It
It does
does.
rule.
It does.
Because you can get things while you're on the couch, and
Mhm.
because you can throw bullets like they were from a gun,
Yep.
but you don't have to have a gun,
You don't have to.
and you don't have to have one, and you can
Mm-mm.
scratch your own back.
See, that's the thing. That's the underlying thing that people don't think about. Like, it's just the scratching your own back. I mean, you're just going to be in a better mood because of that. Like, it's gonna it has a lot more like ancillary effects, like side effects or whatever.
I think it does.
And I
think
think
it
that's but I think that if you embrace it too much, you become crazy. Kind of how Jean Grey eventually does. That's
I'll
one
be
of the
honest with you.
catalysts of it.
Yeah, no, that's true. You got that Phoenix Force, all that good shit. My main thing is, I'd be like, well, I would treat my telekinetic powers
Mm-hmm.
like they were a gun, and I would never point it at myself.
That's
So I
fair.
think the temptation would be like, clean my teeth with telekinesis,
Right.
and I'll scratch my back with it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll blow my hair back with telekinesis. I feel like that's a good way to over telekine and just blow your own head off.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right? I
Yeah.
feel like that's a thing you could do. I
Mm-hmm.
almost probably never do that, but I would get a drink from the fridge. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? No harm, no foul, and that's what TKO does here.
Mm-hmm.
And she grabs that thing and she's like, one for the bad guys. And they leave. And April's on TV being like, yeah, I guess the Turtles should have expected that this crowd would get kind of crazy given they did just beat up America's favorite TV heroes. And the
Yep.
crowd is like, we hate you.
Mm-hmm.
And the Turtles are like, well, let's get out of here. So they're a little dejected. They lost the belt. You know what I'm saying? They're like, oh my God, I can't believe I cut that off. That was so freaking cool. Then I bashed that guy's face in, and I was so busy beating him up that we lost the belt. I love how they leave. Like, the belt's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're not still looking, which is the crazy part.
They
because,
just start,
like,
all right.
that belt contains the damn talisman, and they don't know that Shredder has these, like, superheroes working for him that are stealing it. So they're just like, that's going to be really hard to tell the old man that we just lost it at Radio City Music Hall. We have no idea where it is, but the crowd was getting too rowdy. I think that's what they're trying to say here. The crowd.
I think that's what it is.
Hot. It's really bad, and they have to leave.
Yeah.
So walking into the house, guess what happens? The house has been destroyed. Splinter's nowhere to be found. Obviously, they're super freaked out. But then, all of a sudden, they hear a very familiar voice come out. But it's Hamada Yoshi in his human form. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
He's like, hi. He says that a lot. That's
he does.
He says.
He does.
Which around this point in the comic, you start to think where he goes, hi, and you see him. You realize that the man telling the story to the child is Hamada Yoshi. This is like around the time you kind of start to think that.
Yep.
Because he starts to go, because you see him say hi a lot, like when he's talking to the kid.
Right.
Almost as using hi as like an affirmative, like you know what I mean. And here he says it, hi, I am once more my true self, you know, and you recognize him as well. And it turns out that the reaction, I guess, that he had by being clobbered by the force of the
talisman,
the talisman power stone situation, Year of the Turtle, the Equinox, when he gets hit with it. It knocked him all the way back to Hamada Yoshi. He is completely unmutated, and they're just like, "Oh my God!" But then at this point, we end the comic with Splinter, and now we know Hamada Yoshi saying, but I can see by the time that's enough story for you tonight." And you see that the child in bed is kind of like rolling over and going to sleep.
Right.
And this is around the point where you're like, you haven't shown me who the kid is. And I feel like you're hiding it from me, and I don't know why. And we're gonna figure that out. Because,
they want you to buy those other issues. That's why they haven't told you.
Yeah, because that's, and this is where you get the tip. He says, the person in bed says, "You sure that's really the way it happened?" And he goes, "Hi, that is how it happened." And you're like, "Oh, that is him." And then you see your boy go, "Good night, Splinter." And you're like,
right.
Yeah.
Got him.
Good night, Splinter. Got him, boys. But once again, you realize that this individual in bed calls him Splinter. So
yeah.
Like,
so,
interesting. And then it says, next time, more action, more surprises, and one majorly wild ride. Oh, and killer monks.
Killer monks.
And then there's a letter, which I'm not going to read really any of. There's a letter from Freddie Mendez. Talking about how really excited he is to be working on the TMNT, and how he relates a story about the first time he saw TMNT #1 in person and getting into the Turtles. And there's like some profiles on like the various creators, which are kind of an addendum to this issue. A big thing on Dan Slott and Hugh Haynes. They're actually they're funny, but everyone's taking the piss so hard in these like little questionnaires at the end that they're almost just, they're kind of, I guess, funny, but it's not, there's really no information in it. Like, you can tell these questions, some of them are like, oh, like, why are you in the comics? And like, what's your work you're most proud of? And like, they all take the piss on it.
But by take the piss, what do you mean?
They're all just like kind of making fun of it. Like, their answers. Okay. Like, Hugh Haynes does say that the work he's most proud of is an unpublished 60-page Punisher bookshelf edition story called Cruise Hard, which I don't know if that's a joke or if that's real. Right. But, that's interesting, and that obviously plays to his, like, Punisher, like, history. Dan Slott is just all about fish.
Oh, okay.
For your information. It's about going fishing. It's about fishing. That's kind of what that is. And then we get a little bit of a preview. TMNT #2, Year of the Turtle, a Dan Slott story, coming November. And as we know, what's funny is this is all out of sorts.
Yeah.
So this was actually kind of came out in 96, but they intended all of this to come out at the end of 95. So it
Right.
slates issue 2 coming out in November of 95.
Mm-hmm.
But by the cover for this, we see that this is dated January
Right.
of
Right.
96. So a little delayed on the release,
Mhm.
and somehow they didn't update those things at the end. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's the issue, Eric. What did
Yeah.
you what you thinky about
well-
this situation?
Well, like I said at the beginning, I love seeing the what was it, the Mighty Mecha Power Raiders. Yeah,
Raiders.
I liked
Yes.
right. I like the reference to that. I agree with you that the whole talisman with thing, like it was really it wasn't very clear at all, but it was still neat seeing them kind of go head to head just for a brief moment.
Yeah.
The tone of this book is really cool. Like I think they're keeping the vibe of it, like it's consistent. And the art is pretty good. Like I enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad you mentioned the Punisher stuff, because like I totally missed that, and so it just rings true of that, and that's really neat.
It does. I read
so far
much War Journal and stuff. That was like Punisher was like one of my favorite comics back in the day. I read so much of that stuff.
Yeah,
And
I
this
actually
does feel like it.
actually didn't read much Punisher at all, but I did see a lot of the books on the shelf, and and other him appearing in other stuff, so I was familiar, but I just wasn't like invested that much. But nevertheless, it's great, the artwork here and stuff. But and the Punisher vibe can work with the Turtles. Like that's the thing that they can ride that line as well.
Oh,
and
yes, they can ride that line. For
so
sure.
yeah, but yeah, everything's been pretty good so far. I'm looking forward to getting to this next issue. But like, did you have any other thoughts on this one?
No, I feel like everything in these three comics kind of conclude almost like we might maybe reel
Save it
back
for the
a
end.
tad of the individual reflection and just
Okay.
kind of all go in on the end, because I feel like at the end a lot more of the stuff, especially from this first issue, is more relevant.
Absolutely.
To me. But that's issue number 1, and we'll be back with issue number 2 shortly.
Yeah.
TMNT Archie Comics.
Mm-hmm.
You're the Turtle
So,
number 2. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? This is February of 1996. This
is
the brief return of the Archie TMNT Adventures imprint. This is number 2. You're the Turtle. And Eric, how about this cover, my man?
This cover's great. I enjoy the hell out of this cover. It almost has a little bit of longtime listeners of the show have been hearing us talk about when we covered the manga issues, the mixed media. I don't think there actually is any in here, but the coloring makes it have that desired effect.
Yes.
Where it because we have for those listening to the show, we have our here's in a half shell, Leo, Don, Mike, and Raph, all being pursued by these presumably killer monks, and
Killer monks. That's what they told us.
That's what they told us.
You know what I'm saying? That's what they told us. That's what it was.
So and they're running through the snow and in the mountains and whatever. Except the monks are. The turtles, however, Raphael and Donatello, to be specific, they are riding on top of Michelangelo and Leonardo, who are hiding in their shells, and as they're being used as sleds. And this is fantastic.
I mean, that makes Donatello and Raphael heroes on a half shell. And that makes Leo and Mikey heroes in a half shell.
In a half shell. Yep. Turtle power. That's all I got to say.
That's it. Turtle power.
This is great. This artwork looks really cool. The turtles are beefy as hell. And they look
in a very like AC Farley type way.
Very
like
similar.
The beefy turtle is the AC Farley turtle. I feel like he just got there first.
Yeah.
I hate to say it.
Yeah.
So if you throw the AC, and I don't hate AC Farley turtles. In fact, when they look kind of bulky like that, like they can look really cool.
They can,
and they do here, I think.
I agree, and but I think they're not super short, but they do look a little stout on this cover, and I think that adds to when you have the beefiness and the stoutness of the turtles, they look kind of neat. And then otherwise, this this looks way better than the first cover, I think. But the masthead that has the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the color scheme, I love this a lot more than I did the brown from issue 1. And so
the green and yellow looks really good.
It does.
And I think you are right when it comes. It's not mixed media, but it is using depth of field
right
in the art, which I think is kind of what you're picking up on.
Yes.
And on spoiler alert, the cover of number 3 goes even to more extreme of what you're talking about. So you picked it here, but it's very obvious in issue 3 as well. So it's something they were choosing to do, depth of field, which is really cool.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And yeah, I know I do like the green and yellows a lot more on this. And yeah, no, I like it a lot. I think it's a pretty cool cover.
Yeah.
Let's see. So and once again, we do have it's $1.50.
That's what I was gonna say.
But in Canada, it's $1.65.
$1.65 extra. What, 15 cents?
That's a fair 15 cents. That's fair. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah,
that's pretty fair for having to go all the way up to America's Hat. You know what I'm saying? And, yeah, I feel like we're good. So once again, yeah, this is the TMNT Adventures, the Year of the Turtle, Chapter 2, Snow Way Out.
Snow Way Out, because they're in the snow.
Snow Way Out.
I love it.
Our writer is Dan Slott, penciler Hugh Haynes, inker Elman Brown, colorist Chai Chi Wong, letterer Jeff Powell. Your cover was done by Ron Lim, Scott Koblish, and the cover colorist.
There you go. That is
cover colorist.
Yep, that was difficult.
That is tough. That was done by Heroic Age. The interior separations, which is I think what you were talking, the separation work.
Yeah,
you were talking about is done by the Graphic Color Works. And then the production manager Karen Antonik, production Jeff Pepitone, Pat Spazzanti, Frank Gagliardo. Your editor is Freddie Mendez, who pinned the little letter at the end of issue 1.
Right.
Managing editor is Victor Gorlick, and editor in chief Richard Goldwater. So we open up with a little bit of a so basically, and you can either read off the scroll or you can listen to the tale from Papa Ryan, and we're gonna do it the latter way. So effectively, what happened in the first issue was that there are 3 pieces of the green talisman of the 13th house that are missing, and the turtles are kind of in the heat of getting them back. Okay. Splinter has kind of sent the turtles out on this mission. The turtles are all researching in their own ways. Donnie doing it on the internet. He causes problems by leaving his internet on, and because it's the 90s, if you left your computer logged into like the internet, people could be like, I own your life,
right? And
then the net comes out and you're like, Sandra Bullock, no. And then you just turn out, you just have your identity stolen, and then someone else is you. And that's just how it was in the 90s. And it's still that way, but I feel like it's a little better now. Back then, Donnie left his computer on, and now everything's going to be ruined. They're trying to find the talisman stones. Shredder gets one in the beginning, so he's already got 1 of 3 set up. The turtles wind up assaulting this universe's version of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, which are the Mighty Mecha Power Raiders.
Yes.
And turns out the turtles attack them live in front of everyone at Radio City Music Hall, beat the hell out of them, beat up a bunch of kid actors,
D-pants to them.
The D-pants, the white Power Raider, who happens to have a piece of the talisman on his belt, which is why the turtles went there anyway.
Right.
He Super Saiyans for no conceivable plot purpose, except to show us that the talisman has power.
Right.
And but gets caught with his pants down because Leo cuts his belt off.
Exactly.
But after taking time to make a caught him with his pants down joke, they lose the belt with the talisman actually on it. You know, the whole reason they assaulted these children.
Yes.
In front of other adoring children. So the block gets hot. Turtles got to run. Meanwhile, while this is going on, turns out Shredder finds out the location of the secret turtle lair, beats Splinter within an inch of his life, and finds a scroll in the lair that tells him where the third talisman piece is. Remember, piece 1, Shredder's got it on his big, big watch chain. You know what I'm saying? He's got it on his big.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah, I forget because it happened so long ago. That's what he went up to the temple at the very beginning and got. So that's how he got that. Yeah.
Yeah, he went all the way up there and he was like, "War Chieftain, give me that," and he took it. So he's got it on his big necklace. He's got that. Piece 2 was on the white Power Raider, but it turns out that Shredder's minions stole it. So he's got piece 2. Right. And he finds out piece 3 is in the Himalayas in a heavily defended fortress, defended by killer monks. Turtles come back empty-handed to the lair, find not only that the lair's been wrecked, that Splinter's gone missing, but then Splinter comes out of hiding to reveal himself to be Himalayan again. His fight with the talisman wielding Shredder caused him to be reverted back to his pre-mutated form.
Yes.
And turtles are kind of left holding the bag. They kind of know about where it's supposed to be in the Himalayas, but Shredder's got both halves of the 2/3 of the talisman, and that's where we leave things off. You know what I'm saying? So we come back in here and we see the beginning of this story once again, just like the first issue started, with who we now know is Splinter, Himalayan in human form, coming in to tell a bedtime story, very Princess Bride style, to an unrevealed child that's in this room. Right. Well, he opens up, it turns out the child makes this whole little bed fort out of his bed.
Which is super
neat. And of course, it's super great. And Splinter's oh my God, that's such a mess.
Oh yeah, that's the best thing I still get excited thinking about doing that as a child. Just making a bed fort, and then that episode of Community where they had all the pillow forts.
Yes,
that was amazing.
The pillow village, basically.
Yeah.
The whole city. That was fantastic. So, I still some mornings, if I don't want to get out of bed, some mornings I just literally throw the comforter over my head, and I'm on my phone. I throw it over my head, and I just breathe in there for a long time. So I think it's to literally relive how muggy. And kind of that used to get under there and how tight it felt.
Oh yeah.
And for some reason that makes me feel very comforted.
Interesting.
Comforted. It's just a thing to do. So I still enjoy that in my own little way.
Well, there you go.
So yeah. Look, I'm human. I promise. So it's kind of cool. So once again, we do see the motif of the Power Raiders sheet set that this kid has, and while chiding him a bit for how much of a mess he's made, Splinter does get inside the fort. Once again, we only see this child revealed in silhouette form,
right?
And Splinter begins telling the story about the fortress and the turtles having to go into the fortress to go after this talisman. Yeah, we cut to a great 2-page splash. Which gives us our title, chapter 2, Snow Way Out. Right. It says it was called the Temple of the 13th House, a secret mystical place whose location the turtles and I uncovered from a set of ancient scrolls. Editor's note. See last issue.
Yep.
Legend had it that this fortress was guarded by curses, traps, and an order of killer monks. If only I had joined them. If I was still, but I was still unfamiliar with my body's new dimensions.
Yeah,
and this is obviously Splinter kind of saying I really, it there's a sense of foreboding, kind
Absolutely.
of I really wish I would have, but I still had to train to get used to my body because whatever. I'm 3-4 feet taller than I used to be, and I'm human again.
And that's something that they never. And I know they can't address that in 22 minutes in a cartoon or
Sure,
it's going to slow down the storytelling process. But here it's great because you have the freedom to do that because the story obviously allows for it. But that's just another element that I don't think they've ever really fully touched, except for maybe on the turtles growing up and then Splinter having to learn about him being a rat, in the movie, maybe that counts. Yeah. But other than that, as far as everything we've read on the journey, I don't think we've actually encountered something like that. where they address
No, I
that.
think the only time we see Himalayan, I might be wrong. The only time so far in the journey I can remarkably remember Splinter going back to Himalayan form was in the animated series, and of course, he's just like, oh my god, I'm a man, like
Right.
it's kind of, they don't have time.
Yeah, well, even if he did, it more so that they don't address that he has to get reacquainted with his body.
Oh,
That
of course not.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I was backing you up. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay, okay.
It's the only time we've seen it, and of course, the animated series isn't going to throw anything at you like that.
No.
I mean, they got toys to sell. They don't got time for backbone and story.
Right, and unlike every other mutant besides the Turtles and Splinter, like if you get mutated and you have one shoe on and one shoe off, like all those Playmates toys, like you're not going to be able to just walk like that. Like you're going to have to learn.
Well, that's your life now. That's your life now. I mean, did you only like the thing about the Playmates toys is like, did you only half-ass touch that bull?
Right.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like, did you only? And I tell you what, like guys like Ground Chuck's my favorite. Ground Chuck, okay. Yeah. Ground Chuck has to look at like Bebop and Rocksteady and be like, "What'd you do different?"
Right. Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Like, did you get the good stuff? Did you get
right.
the good?
Did you get the full shot?
Around
the
and
whole.
He turns around and.
Sorry,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, did you get the whole 8? Like, did the doctor give you the whole 8?
Yeah. You got the whole 8. It's kind of like was it what movie? What was it? Twins with Dan DeVito and
Arnold
Schwarzenegger. There's that line where he's like, I mean, look at us. I'm paraphrasing here big time, but I remember he goes like, "You got all the good stuff. I got all the bad shit." You know what I mean? Like, like when you look at the two of them, it's like true. It's like if they were twins,
right?
Like, yes, like all the good genetics went straight to Arnold, and like he just got the garbage, right? But yeah. And then he turns around and he looks at Dirtbag, and Dirtbag just looks normal.
Yeah,
he's like, wait a minute, you're new,
right?
I'm the guy with the Colossus leg, and you look like badass and normal. Anyway, yes. If you have one, never, guys. I'm telling you right now, just always keep either both shoes on, or one shoe, or both shoes on, or both shoes off in life.
Right.
If you ever just have one on, you're like, I'm just gonna like sit here for a second because I'm tired.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Because
don't do
if
it.
You get mutated. Playmates will put you like that.
That's your life. Playmates will put you like that.
That's what they told us. They'll put you like that. So. Once again, great two-page splash of this, and so we see the temple, and the turtles approaching it in their cold weather gear, and they're kind of hopping over. There's a lot of jokes about like, be quiet, and don't say a peep, but then your boy Mikey's like, peep. Like, okay, gotcha, boys. Got him. Mm-hmm. They hop in, and once again, we have a lot more of Splinter. To this day, I wonder if I had gone with them, could I have made a difference? And could I have prevented that terrible fate that befell one of them? And so nice foreshadowing there by Slot. I appreciate that. Mm-hmm. And they're coming in. So what we see is, as the turtles are kind of like, man, like, I wish we still had the scrolls, because the scrolls that Shredder stole last issue probably would have told us like where all the traps are, and like where the talisman is, and like where the killer monks hang out, and like where the break room is, and like what the security schedule is around this place, and all this stuff. But like, it turns out, like, not a thing.
Nope. They just got to go in.
They just got to go in. So we see that our villains we met last issue, T.K.O. and Psonic, are in the temple as well. But they have Shredder's translation of the scrolls. Mm-hmm. So they're like, yep, don't touch that, walk over that, jump past that hole, all this stuff. And they're making it to the talisman a lot quicker, obviously, than the turtles are. Yeah. So kind of cool scene. We get classic comic book scene where we have characters are going to go ahead and display their powers for us, because we haven't really seen Sonic's powers. Right. We saw T.K.O.'s last issue, but really all she did was just kind of like take the Mighty Morphin Power belt from the guy and like put it in her pocket and run away. So here we get an example of Sonic's power set, which I actually really like. I mean, I think if you're a musician, that's kind of cool.
It's kind of cool.
You can kind of like, I mean, it's hard to look past a lot of the like kind of cheesy, like, my Sonic keyboard, and you should see me on the axe, and like all that cheesy shit. Yeah. But it is really cool that like they're in a hallway, and killer monks are like, yeah, we know people are here because we're monks. Like, you don't got to make a noise. Like, I just know this because I live here by myself all the time. And you're going to die. And so they come running up the hallway. They don't know what to do. Turns out the telekinesis is a little intense, but she does lift them up, and then your boy Sonic gets on the keys, on the guitar,
Yeah.
and he plays a null sound field.
Yep.
So we know from Invincible that
Mhm.
people don't look up.
People don't look up.
Okay. And if you can use TKO to get you up, and then you can get your boy Sonic to be like, nah, son,
like,
can't hear me.
They could have easily they could have easily put Josh Groban in here.
Right past you.
They could have put Josh Groban in here instead of TKO. Same thing. He could have raised the belt up.
He could lift you up.
Yeah.
He could have lifted you up.
And that true. but I guess they couldn't afford. He might not even have been born back then. I don't even know. But
I think it was still his days of lifting you up were way ahead of him.
That's true. That's true. But still, nevertheless, the same thing. If you're in a temple or you got to go to one, find someone with telekinesis or get a hold of Josh Groban. And I hear he's pretty cool. So
and I'll be honest, back in my day, you got TKO and you were happy.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? You were happy to have it. You know what I'm saying? Unlike these spoiled kids today, they get their Josh Groban and they get lifted up all the time.
Right.
So, God. It's like, what do you call it when the train's almost off the rails, but somehow it's like it's kind of pulling the Blues Brothers, like it's on two wheels, but it's still going forward. You're like, this feels like this is off the tracks, but I'm still like on the way to Toronto. We're not dead yet.
Yeah,
this train's like halfway off. Like, what do you call that? Like, what's the podcast version of half off the rails?
Right.
I don't know.
I have no idea.
But that's where we've been.
Yes.
So yes. Sonic and TKO team up to get around the Killer Monks, and now they talk a little bit about how much they don't want to disappoint Shredder. Next, we cut to Shredder and Cyberious, the other person we met. Cyberious obviously has prehensile firewire cables. I mean, like, it depends on the angle you get, but these all look like firewire connectors to me.
They do.
He has prehensile connectors all over his body. He's a Cyberman. You know what I'm saying? He's all about the computers. He's all about the stuff. He wears those bike shorts. My dad used to wear the shit out of those back in the day. Plays softball in them all the time.
Did your dad have the halter top?
Yeah, there was only 2 rules.
Okay.
Have as many colors as you can, and those legs need to be potentially as short as possible. And we can see here that that Cyberious is kind of like the dark blue black, but we're not short enough. You know what I'm saying? This is not. You can't play softball in this.
You can't. What is this? No, that's an embarrassment.
These look like.
That's what that is.
These look like bike shorts. Do you understand? I understand. You might say bike. You just say like a bike shorts. What's the difference between bike shorts and bike shorts? That's the difference.
That's the difference. There you go.
You play softball and drink beer in bike shorts, and they are way shorter than Cyberious is sporting here. But he is. Shredder and Cyberious look over the Middle East.
Yeah, just the whole thing.
You know, in the 90s, I mean, hell, even today, that's kind of what the Middle East could be summed up as.
Yeah.
It's just war.
Yep.
It's just war. And the problem is, though, is that exact spot, the Holy Land, turns out that's also the key area that when the planets align, that's where you get all the power and you can Super Saiyan the most if you have all 3 talismans at that one point. So that's a bit of a problem, right? Because that means there's a war happening, and that means that we have to stop that.
Right.
And that's kind of a thing. So we see Shredder say, "There's nothing I can't do," as he activates 2 of the 3 talisman pieces and jumps into the fray.
Yeah.
The resulting full page is fantastic.
It is.
This is so almost feels 80s-esque comic to me here.
Right.
But I'm here for it. This is so vintage G.I. Joe, down to the inking and coloring that I just positively love this.
Yeah.
It's just, it's funny. I think a lot of and I wonder if younger comic fans would see this and kind of have, they wouldn't have the nostalgia that you and I have for it, obviously.
Right.
But I wonder if they can appreciate it like we can, or if
that
is
I don't know.
Age, like a generation thing. You know what I mean? Because when I see this, I know that this is not modern comics. Modern comics would look way more detailed, and this carries so many of the tropes of the time. And actually, like I said, it feels a little older than 96. Actually, this looks like it could be a comic from like 86.
Well, it was
Like,
supposed to come
wrong?
out. It was supposed to come out in 95, so that's probably what you're thinking. Sorry.
But do you know what I'm saying?
No. I do. I get it.
If this was from like a mid 80s G.I. Joe comic, would you look sideways at this art?
No. The only thing
This
is
goes
that
right with it.
it looks a little more detailed. Well, that's hard to say because some of those Joe books were like super detailed. But like,
Yeah.
To your point about if kids would appreciate this today, I don't unless they are artistically inclined.
Yeah.
I don't think they would because we didn't either. We didn't like a lot of things when we were kids that like were.
No, yeah.
It depends on the age, I guess, but like generally speaking,
Well,
if it looks older
you're right.
than what's like current, then you have this aversion to it because for some reason our society like values that. And but I could see somebody who's like an artist, like a kid that's like really into things. I mean, you know, kids run the gamut of all kinds of stuff because they're just tiny people, but like it's something that I think would be overlooked, but once you know, have some like once you get experience in comics and you know how things were and where they come from and stuff, you can totally appreciate it. But as far as the actual Shredder here, the idea of your boy Shredder going into basically solving the peace in the Middle East, basically doing that.
It's what he does.
I love this version of Shredder because my favorite thing about the Turtles is not that they can out ninja people, but that they have this thing when they come together, much like the talisman, they can change the world, they can change things, and almost as if they have like an uncanny ability similar to like a character like Domino, where the cards stack in their favor a little bit. Like Shredder is obviously a powerhouse here, and conventional means are not going to stop him. But and a little bit of foreshadowing, we're going to see that proves true throughout the whole story. But that's my favorite thing is that Shredder is so powerful that like these super militaries like can't touch him, and he's like getting rockets like shot at him, and he's just punching dudes and tanks and stuff. Like he's just killing them, and I love that. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, and it just I have like a fondness for it. And obviously too, you're getting and there's some comments kind of later in the book that it's definitely right, like comics wind up being kind of like an expression of like popular culture and popular art at the time. Obviously, like everyone's mind was really in the Middle East in the early 90s to mid 90s, and here you have Shredder single-handedly just kind of just like nuking the entire thing with his body, which I guess I'm here for. So at least the nuking the war part of things,
right? Exactly.
So meanwhile, the Turtles were dangerously close, and I feel like at this point, Eric, you're dangerously close to taking over.
I am. From me. So the Turtles are still making their way through the Himalayan Temple, and I love that aspect of it, that they knew enough to get there, but they didn't have the cheat codes essentially, and so that puts them at a disadvantage. But it gives them opportunity to shine and like really like do what they do best, and like I said, things just work out for them in a way, and it's really neat. So typical thing where they are fumbling their way through this temple, and they end up triggering a trap, which is the trap door falls out beneath them, and you get a great like, what is this, 12 panel page where all the turtles are like, it's, I guess they were all on individual squares that kind of went out beneath them, and they go to different tunnels or different like traps. So Leo goes down and is gonna be like impaled by all these spikes, like from the pit in Mortal Kombat, and he manages to take both katana or ninjato, whichever one he's got, and brace himself from falling, and then he can climb his way up to the little sewer hatch, whatever it is, and the escape hatch, you could call it too, in the wall. However, Raphael, and this is awesome, like you're seeing them like from their feet down, like, and that's a angle you don't. Well, the manga showed us the the full the taint of the turtles, and we're getting another shot here, but in America they kind of shade it up to where leave something for the imagination. But
yeah, you do.
But we get some nice soles of the feet shot. So if you're into that, definitely pick these issues up. But Raphael's falling down, and he ends up getting into some water, like just splash. Like, okay, this is a turtle. That's nothing for him. So he ends up finding the hole as well, like the porthole. Donatello falls down into a pit of flames, so just basically hell, and he manages to somehow just like pivot and
reach.
With the bow staff,
that reach, bro, that reach got him out of it.
Right. I guess I was like, what did he brace himself on? But I guess he just like he put it down like a pole vaulter and then does that to get out. So makes his way out, and then Michelangelo finds his way into like just spikes everywhere pit. Like that's just this is like the pit from like Mortal Kombat 15 or whatever. Like it's just like just spikes, just tons of them. Well, he does the classic thing that he did in the Splinter did it actually. He did it where he flipped a shredder in the first movie, where he comes at him with the spear. Something similar to that. Michelangelo whips it around one of the spikes, his nunchucks, and then he says, "This is ridiculous." And so
it was I'm into Iron Maiden,
but this is ridiculous. Exactly.
And I do like the idea, like the physics of him like whipping his nunchucks around one of the spikes and then like using his fall to like flip his momentum down into that tunnel to escape. That's like super cool to me.
Oh yeah, it's great, and I love this panel. It's excellent. So the turtles end up making their way. They all end up falling into this one area, which is actually where they wanted to be in the first place, which is like the treasure room essentially, and they see the talisman displayed, and right as they go to get it, well, we have two of Shredder's lackeys, T.K.O. and Psonic just showing up, and they're like, "Nope, we got it." And she uses her telekinesis to acquire the talisman, and the turtles are like, "What? No, like we need that. Like we can't let y'all have this. Like this is gonna be really bad." And so and Leo says to her, he's like, "You don't understand the power you're dealing with, kid," which is interesting because they're definitely drawn to be older. They're definitely older than 15, the T.K.O. and Sonic, but like the turtles are presumably 15, 16, 17, so calling them a kid is interesting, but I don't know, one way or the other. Sonic T.K.O. then shoves Leonardo, says, whatever, get out of here, the name's not kid, it's T.K.O. So the other turtles are like, they're not going to just stand by and let that happen. So Sonic is like,
"Just great. And what's your bag, Baldy?" It's my favorite line ever.
Oh, okay.
"What's your bag, Baldy?"
So
sorry, I jumped you on that, but I want to make sure you wouldn't forget it.
There you go. Well, it was important. So so he said so he's like, "Well, I'm called Sonic, and I do two things. I create Sonic weapons," which he's holding like just some drumsticks, and then he goes, "and I jam," and just I guess he plays the air drums, which kind of like makes like bullets, I guess, and then he switches to a bass guitar, or no, that's electric guitar, and he can shoot like psionic energy out of the headstock apparently, and I love it because you get Raph saying a swear word presumably, and then later on he says double swear word, whichever one that was. So your swear word of choice. At this point, things are being wrecked all over the place, and the monks are hearing all this noise. So there's a huge hole in the wall now, in the temple, and then TKO is like, "This is the perfect time to get out of here. Let's skedaddle." So she gets the force bubble, kind of like how Magneto does, but like obviously this is telekinesis and not magnets, because Magneto can do that. Anyway, the turtles are like, "Huh? Oh, okay." The turtles are like, "Yeah, we gotta go. No, we can't do this." So so they as they're realizing that they're trying to figure out what they're going to do, how they're going to catch up, because obviously I guess like when you're in a telekinetic bubble, like I don't know how fast those go, but obviously it's faster than walking. But they get company, which is the killer monks. And so the turtles then they get the bright idea. They're surrounded by monks at all sides. So this is where the cover comes in, and this is great, and I love it so much. It's, like we said, Leo and Mike get in their shells, Donnie and Raph hop on, and they go skiing essentially, or snowboarding, I guess, or shelling. Shelling works. That works. Yeah, so we're down in Florida. We don't ever see snow. So, like, I don't know if there's an actual term for when you find a turtle in the wild and you jump on its shell and it lets you ride it. Like, I don't know if that's an actual thing that happens in real life or not. So, if anyone does know, please, like, let us know in the chat or email us.
We could do this in, like, the river or the bay.
Yeah.
If you dragged us behind a boat.
Right.
That's about on the water. That's about the closest thing in Florida we have to this kind of shenanigans.
That's true. Yeah. So, and I don't even know what we call it then either. Like, so I don't ever do that. So
that's called tubing.
Tubing. There you go. Or surfing subterranean, possibly. So yeah, then this is just great because it's classic, just hot pursuit kind of stuff where the monks don't care. They're following after because they had one goal in life, was essentially to protect the talisman, and that's what they're gonna go do. Which they did a terrible job of it, apparently. But
they did a damn bad job of that. Yes,
they did. So the Michelangelo's singing what is he singing? Wipeout, yeah, and it's pretty funny, and they're doing this whole thing, and they're trying to catch up. So T.K.O. and Psonic, they end up getting far enough away to where they're high enough up that when they look back, they see the hot pursuit that's happening between the monks and the turtles, and talk about how it looks like ants and stuff. And they decide to open her bubble just a little bit to let I keep wanting to call him Psionic, but his name's Sonic. To let out like a blast, which kind of like separates the monks and the turtles, but simultaneously causes an avalanche, which this is not good. Like that's bad news bears right there. Bad news turtles, like all over that. And so so the turtles are making their way through more of the wooded area of this mountain that they've been like kind of skiing down and or sledding down, shelling down. Sorry, God, I can't. I'm not on it tonight, Ryan. I'm not on it. And so they end up like just getting covered in snow, and that's like the worst case scenario. Like you're just like, I don't know, that's nightmare fuel to me. Like just
I like getting like getting buried, like trapped under ice kind of
right.
That is pretty scary.
Like there's only so much your ninja skills can do to get you out of being buried alive by snow. There's only so much you can do. So at this point, the bad guys go and they try to like scope out the scene to see how it's going, and they let their guard down. At this point, the Michelangelo launches some snowballs, which is great. Hits both of them dead ass in the face, like just perfect precision. And that's another thing I love, because of course the turtles would have precision because they're teenagers that aren't usually allowed to go outside. So they're going to be like throwing ninja stars constantly and getting good at that.
Anything.
Have
like
to be
throwing like old rappers in the garbage can. They were shooting those.
They're going to gamify. They're going to gamify that because that's what you do when you like don't have anything else to do. You gamify it and look around your house, that's what they do.
Had I been this accurate in baseball practice with my son, I wouldn't have killed a snake in the back.
You wouldn't have killed a snake.
Fastball.
That's true.
Snowballs, 3 strikes, you're out.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's what your boy says. So it's time for a knock baseball joke, which I appreciate.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. And but once that happens, this causes them to let go of the talisman, and then, which I wonder. And I don't know. See, it's weird because they use green as the color of the talisman. Like that's they talked about that, and then also anytime it uses its power, it is also green. But I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that T.K.O.'s abilities often are green too, unless that is also amplified by the talisman. So I don't.
No.
I didn't pick up on it when I read it, but just going through now, I'm curious if I maybe missed that. But that's just something I just noticed because her bubble was green, but I don't know. I don't think the rest.
She had the talisman.
But she had the talisman precisely. So,
and she lifts them above, like up above in that tunnel, and she doesn't have the talisman yet, and it's not colored. But
that's
it's
true.
Also, why
that's
would
true.
it be colored? Why would she make it colored? Because
you're
trying to hide from the monks. So
exactly,
so it's hard. Yeah,
it's a little tricky. But here she definitely goes for the talisman again. At the same time, Michelangelo does too, and he says, "I got it." They both say it at the same time. Mikey does the classic "Jinx, you owe me a Coke," and as soon as and that's a not some. So then we get this thing, Ryan, and this I was spoiled by it, but still seeing it, like just kind of hit me a little bit, you know. And
the powers of the talisman were only meant to be unleashed by one person at a time.
Precisely.
So when both Michelangelo and T.K.O grabbed a hold of it, the results were quite explosive.
Exactly. And so where TKO and Psonic essentially just get knocked out, like they just pass out.
Yeah.
Michelangelo gets reverted back to a regular a regular turtle.
We're back, boys. Flowers for Algernon. It's all here now.
Yep.
Not to mention, for some, does Michelangelo look, or does Leonardo look particularly like Italian in this to you?
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned that.
Shot above, I think it might be like the shading.
The shading
is. I feel like like when the moon hits you. I feel like that. That's like I'm getting this feeling off it. And I don't know.
You're not wrong.
It's the eye color. It's the eye like the shape of the eyes. It's the mustache. It's the. I just feel like it's a.
So like. Yeah, when I was doing the trailer for this, I talk about the bearded turtles, and that's because like the shading on this, they all look like they have beards.
Yeah,
and it's kind of funny when
yeah.
Now obviously it's just shading, but if you just take it out of context and just look at it at that, it's hilarious because it's like these are like men, like adult mutant ninja turtles, and this is cracking.
I feel like Leo here is like, look how they massacred my boy. You know what I mean? Like you can just put like any line from The Godfather in his mouth.
Oh yeah.
Like it's pretty great.
Oh yeah, and he's got his mouth just wide open, so you can see like all his teeth, and that's always kind of strange.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm getting this like Godfather Italian feel off him, and he's like, oh, am I, Mikey?
Mikey. No, that's you're not wrong, but it's and the thing I love about this picture or this scene is that a lot of times when they do this, they forget about the clothing, like and the effects. So they'll just either have it disappear or it mutates with them. And this is it just stays large. It's just the organic matter, which is interesting that that they chose to do it that way. And I don't know, it's a small thing, but seeing the bandana and the belt there and all his gear and then him just being the tiny turtle, that's, I don't know, it's really neat. And then that's the end of the story. That's it. We get some pinups that are pretty cool. But and then we get the advertisement for number 3, which is the finale of this trilogy. And so do you so real quick thoughts on this, like just real brief?
I thought it was a good middle issue. It did what a middle issue needs to do. It brought you a bit of the dark tea time at the end there, with Mikey's transformation. I think we could save it maybe more till the conclusion of number 3.
Okay,
sure.
Okay, cool. Well, let's go ahead and get into number 3 then.
Yes. So
here we go. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Adventures, number 3.
Adventures.
Yes, and Archie Comics Adventure Series, and this is when you think about Adventures being officially over, like in this time period, this cover is pretty much how you feel. So Ryan, why don't you tell people let's talk about this cover.
So on the cover in the foreground, this issue, I feel like every issue of the Year of the Turtle, with each cover, they were like more depth of field, more depth of field,
right? More.
So here it more. Mm-hmm. So here it is. It's Mikey as a little baby turtle He's got a little bit of a tear going on. Who knows what that tear says? Yeah, the tear could be like,
Who
well, I'm
knows?
just sad that I'm not a big turtle anymore.
Yeah.
That tear could be him remembering Raph's fate in the river. Your boy Rick Vitch with that bloodsucker situation, Flowers for Algernon. That story makes me look like that whenever I think about it. But he's there a little out of sequence, and it does the cover thing. I always have to give just a teeny little knock sometimes on covers where the things they show in the cover is more indicative of like maybe the overall feeling of what's happening,
Right.
but not literally what happens in the comic.
Right.
Mikey here is shown with one tier, with his bandana, nunchucks, and gear around him. Like we found him last issue as a mini little baby turtle when he was demutated. But that obviously is last issue, not this issue. In the background, in that classic depth of field blurred out fashion, you have the other three turtles fighting Shredder, illustrated with a cape.
Oh,
Also
yeah, I didn't
another
notice
bit of a
that.
letdown, because we were kind of enjoying Shredder without a cape in this
Right.
comic run.
Right. I forgot about that.
And the fact that it's kind of ketchup and mustard colored is not my favorite either. I'm not a. I love a saturated like dark cape with a light interior. I think that's a great thing. Like
Right.
when I paint my 40K models, if a guy's got a cape, usually it's got something going on like that. I'm a big
Yeah.
fan. But here the ketchup and mustard, with the very desaturated red arm or the red clothes he's wearing. I'm just not a big fan of the color assortment there. But in general, the cover is kind of giving you the thing. I think in this third issue, if they hadn't got you to read 1 or 2 yet, this has got Flowers for Algernon, Michelangelo, and the other turtles valiantly fighting against Shredder. I think you might at least pick this off the shelf and like thumb through it. Be like, what the hell has happened to Mikey?
Exactly.
We're also back to the red masthead with the red border. You're the turtle. I'm not, and like we talked about on the last issue. I think we both prefer cooler, like the green colors for that stuff, like you saw in issue 2. Not a big fan of the red style, especially because we're kind of also samey with the red of Shredder, and he's not in the foreground, but he's the center of the background. I think the composition's a little funny.
I agree.
But overall, I think once again, I think this is a what comic book. Like sometimes issues are supposed to make you go, I gotta look at this thing. They're attention getters, and that's definitely what this cover is. It's not my favorite cover overall, though. Right.
Yeah, I agree. So and that turtle face is just so weird. Like I know how do you draw. Like I mean, I'm sure people can draw turtle faces, but it's not a bad turtle face. It's just
also
strange.
I mean, last thing I'll say. I know we're nitpicking here, and I just got done saying that like this comic, like this cover was made to make you pick up the book. If you hadn't grabbed the other ones, at least pick this one up and look through it. Right, we're trying to sell comics here. I understand it's business.
Yeah.
However, if the whole thing is that Mikey got transformed, literally like demutated back to his like pre-mutated turtle self. If a turtle had a face like that, that was very human, and where it was able to cry tears and have a frown like a human, that would be in the Ripley's Believe It or Not museum.
Yeah,
that would not
it totally would.
Just at the pet shop where he was previously purchased. So it also it goes against the promise of the premise of he's just a turtle, guys. He's just a regular turtle. They give him a little bit of like, I still got some humanity. I still got some intelligence left. A little Flowers for Algernon. But I can also be critical of that because I'm like, that thing's just a freak of nature. Like, you know what I mean? Like once again, they'd be like, did you like if you were in the Ripley's Believe It or Not museum, you'd be like walking around and you like pass a thing of it, like it'd be like a grainy black and white picture from like 1910, and it'd be like, did you know in Samoa or wherever there was a turtle found with a human face? You'd be like, ugh. and Ripley roll up like, believe it or not, and you're like, and then you go, that's like actually one of those like punk rock statements you ever could have made, Ripley, because like Ripley just rolls up like, believe it or not, and you're like, are those my only options?
That's my only options. Like, one or the other.
You're like, well, I don't believe it. And they're like, okay.
That's it. That's all he says.
Believe it or not.
There you go. Well, believe it or not, this is the last issue of the Year of the Turtle, called Story's End, which is appropriate. So we have writer Dan Slott penciler Hugh Haynes, inkers Elman Brown and Paul Sheeny, colorist Chai Chi Wang. It's hard to read. Letterer Jeff Powell, cover artist Ron Lim, Elman Brown, cover colorist Heroic Age, interior separations, graphic color works. Now about Heroic Age, our buddy Adam Winters in the chat brought up that Heroic Age was Archie Comics' go-to source for cool digital colors in the mid-90s, and they did a lot of Sonic with a capital S, not PS, the Hedgehog covers. So there you go. So thanks, Adam, for that tidbit. Let's see.
Really fast. Yeah. I hate to interrupt you, but I think this is relevant to your interests.
Okay.
My son just downloaded on PS Now. There's like a Tokyo 2020 Olympics game.
Yeah.
And if you download it, it has all these Olympic sports, and it's made by Sega, and it feels very like a Nintendo Wii style, but it's on the PlayStation, which is really weird looking.
Okay.
Anyway, they have boxing, and they allow you to like dress up your boxer however you want, so you look like kind of ridiculous. You can also box as Sonic the Hedgehog. And right before I came in to do this, he'd been talking about boxing with Sonic the Hedgehog like all day. And on the way in to do this podcast, I walk by it on our like 70-inch flat screen. All I see is like a hulking Sonic the Hedgehog, just like haymakering some like dude, and he's like bah bah bah, and August is like yeah. I'm like, this is insane. Like, I don't know. I had to tell you about that. Like, seeing Sonic as big as a human,
right?
Punching the hell out of a human is a weird thing to see.
Yeah, that is a weird thing to see. I mean, goodness.
Sorry, that's what's in my head right now.
Hey, I'm here for it. So, that's so strange that they just have that. Like, so it's like,
it was awesome. Eric, he doesn't even wear boxing gloves. You want to know why?
Why?
He's already got gloves.
He already has gloves, and he's got to go fast. He ain't got time for gloves.
August goes, he doesn't wear boxing gloves, but he's already got his own gloves. I'm like, yeah, but those aren't regulation. Those are like driving gloves. Those, like I think in the Sonic universe, those are like literally like the leather gloves like OJ used to like just drive around like a weirdo. I feel like that's what he's punching you with. They're not even UFC gloves. They have some padding,
right?
Much less a boxing glove. He's fighting a guy in full boxing gloves.
That's
and he's
amazing.
Just got like these white leather gloves on, just decking this guy.
Well, now, do we know if Sonic is like the Flash, where like every part of him is fast, like so his arms can move just as fast, or is it just that he can run really fast? Like I don't really know. The only experience I really have
cartoon. I think he just ran fast.
That's my
I don't
understanding.
Recall like a Speed Force ability on him, or like or like him, or like Barry Gordon, or like Quicksilver. There's nothing like I'm just fast. I think it's like he just runs fast. Like,
okay, because I read I think it was Boom put out the Sonic comics a couple years ago, and they did a crossover. I was reading the Mega Man comics, and the Mega Man comics were fantastic. The Sonic crossover was neat. Seeing those two characters together, that was a lot of fun, and it was good. It was different. I didn't dislike it, but I was definitely more partial to Mega Man. But I never got too far into Sonic. But anyway, back to the issue. Let's see, where were we at? Production manager Karen Antonick. Production Joe Pepitone, Pat Spaznate, yeah, something like that, and Frank Gagliardo. Man, I'm not doing this bad as I thought I was going to do. Editor Freddie Mendez, managing editor Victor Gorlick, and editor-in-chief Richard Goldwater. And one thing that's kind of neat too about this book is that they've had the actual talisman behind this. Like, so what you're seeing if you're watching the YouTube, the live stream, that is the full talisman that's like behind the credits. And I'm
a big fan. I'm a huge fan of like these kind of consistent watermark like landing pages.
Absolutely.
Like in comics series, I'm a huge fan of that, and I really did admire that work. I'm glad you pointed it out.
Yeah, I love it. So I think it was really well done. And so just again, we have, and I love this. So we have, in keeping with the scroll theory or theme,
Yes.
we have a turtle holding a scroll, which is basically ASO basically for readers that are just now picking up issue 3 for some reason. And so they go through and they talk about all the things that have happened, about how the turtles are looking for, and Shredder are looking for the talisman, because this is the parts of the talisman to bring them together, because there's this one thing that's going to happen where everything's going to align, and it's going to give whoever has the completed talisman at the right place at the right time the ability to change the world or something like that, basically. We have the turtles. Shredder already had one. He went and got it from a temple, I'm assuming South America, something like that, Mesoamerica, somewhere in there. And then the turtles found out that there was one in the Himalayan mountains in a temple guarded by killer monks. But Shredder found out as well. He demutated Splinter because the power of the talisman that Shredder had caused that. And the turtles went to the Himalayan mountains to find the talisman there, as well as Shredder's bad guys, his new bad guys, I guess you could say, Psonic and T.K.O. While they are there, they actually do get the talisman, and they make their way out. The turtles are in pursuit, and fighting happens eventually, and they end up getting Michelangelo and TKO try to go for it at the same time. TKO gets TKO'd, and Michelangelo gets reverted back to a regular just turtle. And then so that's where the turtles and those bad guys are at right now. I believe Shredder is in the Middle East, and he is bringing his own form of peace there, because that is the place where the alignment is going to happen, and so they need to use that area. So they got to get rid of all the fighting there, and that's what him and his other new lackey, what is his name again? Cyberious, is that it? Yeah, Cyberious. Okay, that's where they are at, and so that should bring us up to speed. So and as the other issues have done, we have this character that we found out was Splinter. Hamatoyoshi is going into this bedroom again, and telling a story to this unrevealed as of yet character, who is obviously a child that is a fan of the Mighty Mecha Power Raiders. There we go. And so Hamatoyoshi comes in, and he compliments the child on cleaning the room from the last issue, where he had built a furniture and blanket fort. And so he says, though, I see that you shoved everything under the bed, basically. But you know what? Like, you did. But a practice I would caution you to avoid in the future. For when you lump your problems together, it is easy to overlook things of true value. And he brings out the talisman completed, which is interesting, because as the story's been showing us so far, like, that's the main goal, is we're trying to get this talisman to be completed. Yeah. So showing that Splinter already has it is very, very telling.
Very Shakespearean of him, right? Like, absolutely. Like, well, I win.
Right.
But let me tell you how I did it.
So the child recognizes the talisman, and he's like, "What? We have it! Oh my goodness!" And he's like, "Yeah." So he says that the mystical powers, or the 3 magical pieces of jade that make the mystical talisman of the 13th house, for one moment in time held the power to change the world. And so he's talking about that's what it's got. Well, he continues to tell the story about the turtles' last adventure. And we get a 2-page splash, which looks really good, but I don't have it laid out to where we could see it yet. But it is awesome, because it goes back to the point I was making about Hamatoyoshi having to relearn a lot of his movements, and like getting accustomed to being a human again, and being able to use his body. And so it's kind of like a 2-page splash montage of him like training and getting built back up again. And so it's really neat because he's trying to be there for his students and his children, and so it's kind of neat to see that like vulnerability in him, that he's like, you know, I gotta up my game, you know, whatever. He's like, it's like he's not waiting for Josh Groban to come and lift him up, or T.K.O. to come and lift him up, you know, or anything like that. He's gonna do it on his own, which that's the kind of man Splinter is, and I would expect no less. But we get this harrowing shot of the turtles. And they are they pick Michelangelo up by his tail. Now, I don't know. I haven't picked up too many turtles in my lifetime, even though living in Florida, that seems to be a reoccurring occurrence. No, yeah, whatever. But of people picking up turtles like in the streets and stuff. But I don't think I've ever seen anyone pick them up by their tail. Maybe that's a thing that if you are a turtle, that's like you could do that, like a familial.
Yeah. Well, I can grab this tail in the right way and I'm good. Like,
right.
Better than like crushing his little shell with like my hands. But
see,
like,
that's true. That's true.
That feels a little weird.
It does feel a little weird. But speaking of weird, we have the turtles here, and I love the how much emotion they're like evoking, but they look strange as hell. And Leonardo looks like he has a dead ass mustache, and I can't get past that. And I don't want to.
No, it goes back to that like kind of like that Italian man look. He's like, oh my boy, what happened? It looks like that kind of.
Yeah.
And when I see this panel, this might sound a little weird. When I see this, it's getting kind of like that. When I see this panel, so you know the scene from A Christmas Story where Ralphie and right after they wash his mouth out with soap, Ralphie envisions coming back to his house as a blind old man, right? As this blind kid, and you know he comes into the living room, and they're like, Ralphie, what happened? What caused this? What put you in this slowly state?
Right.
And he's like, no, I can't say it. And all that build up. I love that scene so much. And he's like, it was soap poisoning. And the parents go, oh no, you know, whatever. It's just like, okay, look at this image and imagine that little turtle going, soap.
Right.
Poisoning.
Soap
and all
poisoning.
Them going, no, like it was their fault. That's all
right.
I see when I see this.
Oh, that's excellent.
It looks like, I understand that they're supposed to be like just blown out, like they just like this is something that they never like ever could have planned for. You know, I get that, but something about the way that they're shown, and especially with the inking of the mustache, it just feels odd. It just feels a little odd, and I don't know if we hit I don't know if we hit the mark we wanted to hit with this when it was finished.
Yeah. It's strange, but it's not bad by any means. But it's just.
But once again, and that's when you drill in deep, right? When you drill into art, you start and you start thinking about, okay, what was in their head and what were they going for, and you kind of realize sometimes the combination of pencil, inks, color, and go can make one page like heartbreaking, right?
Right.
And sometimes the arrow that was fired by the penciler, like at the target of like this is supposed to be heartbreaking.
Right.
Through the process of people working on it, the arrow wanders. Do you know what I'm saying? A little bit. And and whatever. But if we zoom out of that, right? Because sometimes you get a little too hard on comic. Not hard. I wouldn't think I was being hard, but you get a little too critical. You start critiquing.
Yeah.
If you zoom out in the pace of the story, this panel is what it's supposed to be. It's given a full page, no panel lines, and it's supposed to show like, oh my god, like I can't believe he's just a turtle. Because
absolutely.
That's not flowers for Algernon. Like they've lost their brother. Like,
right.
Yes, he's here in his like premutated form, but they've lost like his like mind. I mean, like his intelligence that was granted to him by is gone.
Right. Right.
In many, many ways, he's brain dead. Like that has a lot of gravity.
It does,
like,
and
a lot of gravity to it.
And they they did a pretty good job early on at showing that they were hard on Mikey, which generally in most incarnations of the Turtles they are harder on Mikey.
Yeah.
And this is one of those things where they're like, you take it for granted because you're like, oh well, there's tomorrow, and I'll make it up to him tomorrow, or like I ripped on him today, but like I'm gonna hang out with him tomorrow and spend some time to make it up for it. And
you always think you got tomorrow,
right?
What I'm saying?
Exactly. And so I get a lot of that here. Also, the fact that they're realizing their own mortality in a sense because they're seeing that like, well, if that could happen to Mikey, that could happen to us, and Yeah. So
it kind of feels like Dan Slott was like in the offices like, y'all ever read The River?
yeah.
And like 3 people go, oh yeah, it was fucked.
Right.
That was wild. And he's like, and the other half are like, the what? And he's like, so I want to work with this again. You know what I mean? So I think it's on the conversation. Like, I want to demutate a turtle and have the other turtles look at all this stuff because I feel like I loved that and I want to do it now too. But yeah, the art does portray kind of like a. Once again, there's a lot of outcomes I think you can envision out of a fight with somebody.
Right.
This is probably not one of them. Like if you and I were out front of your house and managed getting into a fight with some redneck dude or a couple redneck guys.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the result of that fight was like us beating up the redneck guys. But I turn around and you're a baby. I'd be like mind broken. I'd be like, you know what I mean? I like hold you up, like, my boy,
well,
like go why? You know,
right.
I already have the mustache, so it doesn't help. You know.
No. Yeah.
But yeah, if you all of a sudden Eric's just an infant,
right?
That'd be the last thing I think would happen out of a fight with somebody. So
exactly.
You know, I understand a little of their like being blown out. You know?
And it's also that thing where, and you would probably experience this too, where you're like, well, now you have to take this kid to raise. Like if you know your brain thinks all the way through to the logical conclusion, it's like you're gonna have to raise me again, and like. Yeah, that's wild. So yeah, they're probably thinking all kinds of stuff, but I love it. It besides the shading, it gets the point across pretty well. So I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit because basically what happens is that the turtles are blown out by this. You cannot see it. It's great.
When you turn the Eric, I read these. I read this issue only once, but the other ones I read multiple times. And
right.
When you point out the damn mustache, now I can't not see it. In the next page, the mustaches are insane, my man. They're insane.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I'll get there. Yeah, but yeah,
I got you.
Yeah. So basically, the turtles are blown out. More fighting happens with T.K.O. and Psonic, and they're trying to figure stuff out and trying to get the talisman because it's still in the middle of it's still in play. And so T.K.O. has the advantage because she's no longer T.K.O. She's no longer knocked out. So she uses her abilities to acquire the talisman. And then out of nowhere, Ryan, we get Vulcan Death Grip just come up and
it is Vulcan Death Grip.
That's what that is. Splinter just straight up just nerve pinches this lady, and she goes down for the count again. And this is where the mustaches got me. So everyone's like, way to go, Sensei. Yeah. And then all of a sudden Splinter realizes this is Michelangelo and the turtles are still blown out because they have mustaches and it's hilarious.
They do. It's such a weird, it's such a weird hashing.
It is.
Ink work.
Is it supposed to be something with the beak? Like, is that kind of what they're trying to go for?
Maybe because we thought when we hashed that way that the coloring would like give gradient to the top part and desaturate or sorry, not desaturate, but then darken down. And you see a little of it, right? The top of the head is a brighter lime green. Mm-hmm. And at the bottom near the jaw, it's a little, I wouldn't call it forest, but it's a little more of like a grass green. Is what I call that. Maybe when we were hashing and we were inking and following up on the pencils, maybe we thought that we would be a little bit more forest green down there and it would kind of blend into our hashes, and it didn't. I could very well see that being the style, like that being the idea, like, oh, the hash is going to look great when the color happens.
Right. But it didn't. It just looks like they have mustaches. So
no, they just look like they have mustaches.
So they decide that they have to get. They're even more like resolved to get all three pieces. Like they have to do it. Because they got to bring Mikey back. And so Donatello starts going into this thing where he says our only hope of turning Mikey back is to use the full power of the completed talisman during the exact moment of the alignment. Now, according to the inscriptions I read I read back in the temple, the talisman is not based in astrology, but rather astronomy. And now do some research, which by that I mean I did look up. I did a Google search. Astronomy, for those who don't know, is a science that's. Yeah, hey, I did something. I pulled my weight around here.
Hey, run it, yeah.
See, Ryan would just call this from the dome, but I got to use the internet like Donatello.
Yeah.
Thanks. So, astronomy is a science. Astronomy is a science that studies everything outside of the Earth's atmosphere, such as planets, stars, asteroids, galaxies, and the properties and relationships of those celestial bodies. Astrology, on the other hand, is the belief that the positioning of the stars and planets affect the way events occur on Earth. So here's what Donnie's saying. He's saying it's not based on astrology, but astronomy. So the positioning of oh God, I still get it mixed up, even though I just read them.
Yeah. So first of all, I want to point out one small thing. In the top right panel on this page, no mustache, and it looks fine.
Looks
fine.
fine.
I feel like the mustaches weren't important. So he's basically so the Chinese calendar. Okay.
Yes.
The,
okay.
Yeah.
The
this
years
is perfect. Of animals and stuff like that.
Right.
That is astrology. Right. There is a belief that in the year of the snake, I do not know much about the Chinese calendar year,
right?
But I'm just gonna, and I don't want to shed light on or make light of people's way of thinking, traditional ways of thinking. But for example, in the year of the snake, snaky things happen, right? In the year of the pig, it's good because if you were born in this time of the year, or you're born the year of the pig, that means a lot for how your life's gonna work or your fortune, stuff like that. It is astrology. It's literally hey, baby, what's your sign? Okay. That's believing that the position of the planetary bodies somehow affect or what happens on Earth with us and our emotions, and it even gets into fate and what events may befall you, right? Literally, down to the point where people that are into astrology enough, if Mars is in the wrong house or whatever, they won't ask someone on a date, or they won't take a long trip because that's unlucky for them, or do you know what I mean? It gets that serious. So astronomy is what is it about the planets themselves, right? And how do those planets scientifically interact with us? For example, every planet in the solar system exerts a gravitational force on Earth. Okay, you don't think about that, but they do.
Yeah.
It's very minor, right? But they do. And if you were, say, to go into orbit of Earth, then technically, to a very small degree, Jupiter's gravity would kind of make you wonky. That's why you can't really keep an orbit of the Earth. Right? If you get up to an orbit of the Earth and there's no air to slow you down, you'd say, well, I just stay in orbit, don't I? That's not true. Your orbit starts to get pulled eccentrically because of the gravitation. That is astronomy. That is the scientific impact. So here he says, basically, every epoch, a constellation is formed in the sky. And in here he says, in that instant, the gravitational forces from these heavenly bodies are focused on one specific point on Earth. So it's not about it's the year of the turtle, it happens 1 millennium, and that's why it's all fate and destiny. It's because literally all these planets and stars will line up, they make a turtle, which is kind of weird, and then they somehow give their gravitational force to Earth at this point, and this stone can harness it.
Right.
It's really weird. But I hope I kind of buttressed you there. That's kind
you did. That was excellent.
Difference,
that was Pippin and Jordan right there. That's what we live for.
Woo!
So, but that was excellent. And I think what you said actually made a lot more sense of what the issue was trying to say too, to me at least.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate that. But what I also appreciate is that Master Splinter took the time to start breastfeeding Michelangelo here for some reason, and that is something that I never thought I would see, but. We also
that's a father's love.
That's a father's love.
The turtles looked a little shocked, but
the turtles are
honest.
The turtles are so shocked.
Someone just started.
They got full beards, Ryan. They grew full beards between page turns. That's how shocked they were.
They did. They're like, hey man, it's 2010.
Right.
Out of nowhere, they're like, hey, man, everyone's got a beard.
Yeah.
have you ever been around someone? And look, I had a wife, she breastfed, whatever. I'm all about free it up. I'm all about like the idea like you should be able to breastfeed wherever you want. I'm all about that.
I do.
But have you ever had a friend or somebody who just whips it out in front of you that you've never seen do that before, and then they do it?
No, not really. Oh well, I
really
have,
interesting.
but it wasn't like just disclosed. It was just like I'm doing this with clothes on, so it's
like
just okay.
I had several friends before I had kids. I had several friends who had kids, and I mean I guess we're all close. We're close friends.
Mm-hmm.
But like it would just be like, oh yeah, we're just in the middle of talking, and it's like gotta whip this out, and like it doesn't matter what you see.
Right.
And look, I said I'm all about that because I'm like, yeah, you gotta feed your baby, and like we're all adults here. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna make you go to the bathroom.
Yeah,
no. Go sit in the bathroom with your baby. But I remember it felt like it's one of those things that like being like you're just not exposed to until you are.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh,
yeah,
that is how that works, and that's what the turtles are doing here.
That is.
The turtles are like, whoa, that's the way of life.
Right. That's the circle
like,
of life.
Yeah, like wake up. This is how you feed a baby. You know
right.
what I'm
Exactly.
saying? They're like, whoa, look. You could do it. I'm just saying, like, it caught me off a little off guard. It's the first time I've ever seen it.
Splinter's just like Hakuna Matata. Like, he's just that's just how he does it. So.
That ain't no passing phrase, bro.
It ain't.
Nah.
So one thing that's interesting here in this text is that once they get past the shock of seeing a bare-chested Splinter breastfeeding a baby turtle,
yes,
they realize that the fact that the jade, they call them the jade trinkets, and basically the talisman, that they're actually probably not jade, but rather hardened crystalline forms of mutagen, which I'm like, that's some IDW stuff where the mutagen is like in other things that you didn't think, and you just thought it was green or whatever, and then it's like, it's because it's that. Yeah. Love that. So here, they recap. They say the transmutating powers have already changed a Power Raider into the ultimate fighter, Splinter back into a man, and Mike back into a turtle, and Donnie says though that with enough power behind them, they could change the state of time and space as we know it. So that's that's interesting. So at this point, the turtles they're still conversing with Splinter and trying to figure out what to do. Then they hear a beeping that's on Sonic's like wrist or something, and it turns out that it's like a teleporter kind of signal thing where they're trying to get in contact with him or what's his name? I keep forgetting his name. Cyberious is trying to like find out where he is so he can teleport him back. Well, Donnie is going to reverse engineer and flip the polarity to try to get the teleporter to send them to wherever Shredder and Cyberious are at. And that's what he ends up doing eventually. Like we get to I'm going to show this scene because this is great too. This is the end result of Shredder's annihilation of all the forces that are in the Middle East, and just complete decimation. And it's great. And somehow you have Cyberious, which I guess like he used his hacker skills to acquire a pizza in the Middle East, and is just eating a pizza.
I was asking about that.
Yeah. And he's just on his laptop, and he's like, like explaining to.
See, I would understand if that was bagel bites, because they clearly say you could have pizza anytime.
Anytime when it's on a bagel.
This shows, when it's on a bagel.
Yeah, pizza anytime.
Now this shows just a regular pizza, so I feel like this is a bit of like a bit of another story hole, like a little plot line hole here.
Like Dan, come on, Dan.
I feel like Bagel Bites would have explained. Come on, Dan. Bagel Bites would have easily explained this.
Easily,
you know what I'm saying?
Totally. Yeah, exactly. Perfect. Thank you. I'm glad you brought that up. But Shredder is he gets informed by Cyberious like as to what the situation is, and he's like, Shredder's like, let him come, bring him. So in a classic Turtles in a teleporter scene, the turtles show up, and they're so kind to bring Sonic and T.K.O, which is subtle because they don't really explain it. Or at least they don't address it, I don't think, or I don't remember them doing it. But I love it because the turtles aren't going to leave them there to die, and in the cold, because they'd get frostbite and stuff, and hypothermia, whatever, a myriad of things. And anyway, so once they're there, they start going after Cyberious and trying to find out like, you know, what's going on, like what are your powers, because they don't know what his abilities are. So which is interesting because then it just shows that the turtles have never met him before. So
no, they haven't.
They come into the Middle East, guns blazing again, and they just go after this dude. And
that they do.
Yeah, which is a little strange, but okay. I guess now they have even more of an urgency because of Mikey needing to be mutated back. So I guess you could throw like again all the niceties out the window. But anyway, he said Cyberious says, "Whoa, easy. What does he call him? Phoebes? All I do is talk tech." And that's for the kids right there. And he's like, you know, hardware like Don's computer. And so he goes on and starts bragging about like what he did and how he like hacked in to and got the turtle lair and how he's the one that caused a lot of their troubles. And so Donnie's like livid. He is just like not having it.
I mean, it comes back to haunt him. Like it turns out that, like I do like this. Mm-hmm. I do like that Donnie, I mean, he does machines, but he's also a ninja. He's not as tech savvy as the guy whose whole power set is tech.
Right.
Like, I like that. I really like that. Like, Donnie looks like a guy who's a part-time tech dude.
Right.
That's what he is.
Yeah.
Like Donnie is like, you know, he's ninja first, tech second. They're all that way.
He is.
Leo is ninja first, leader second, right? I mean, like, you know, and honestly, like, yeah, I like that. Like, Cyberious has his number. He had his number when he had his computer. He had his number when he was like, oh my God, this guy is like live tweeting everything they're gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
He found the secret layer.
Right.
All this crap. Even the teleport Homer thing. He like later on reveals that like there was something screwy about that, and he figured that out because they didn't scramble it right, and all this stuff. I do like that. Like he has the tech upper edge on Donnie.
I do too.
I think it's a really kind of an understated but really good thing.
Absolutely.
I really like it.
Absolutely. Does machines is not greater than talks tech. I mean, that's facts right there. Facts. So
who wins that fight?
So yeah, we do. And so then like we see Shredder just bust out of everywhere. And well, we get your boy I could go back, I guess, because we have the ability to do that. But he says but his last mistake was by far the best, because they're making fun of Donatello and how he keeps screwing up. He says, Cyberious says, see, he didn't scramble the last transmission of yours well enough. And the next page he goes, psych. And yeah, classic 90s. If you didn't tell me you were in the 90s without telling me you're in the 90s, psych, right here. That's it. And Shredder just busts out of a tank, essentially. Like he just rips it in two. And yeah, he just starts making short work of the turtles. I think he literally punches all three of the turtles in one hit. And he even hits Michelangelo as a baby turtle.
Yes, and he goes flying.
Yeah, and it's presumed, like, see, Donnie says dog pile, so you think that like they're jumping on him, but no, Shredder's got the upper hand. And this is comics, like the best thing about comics. Like my favorite thing about comics is that panel layouts that continue, like in the like where outside of the panel where there's story going on beyond the focal point. So here we see Michelangelo leave the hands of the turtles and fall to the ground by the tank treads. And as the fight continues, which this fight is pretty good. And as I mentioned earlier in the reviews, that Shredder's just wrecking weapons. Like that's all he's doing is like, your bow staff, nah. Your sai, nah. Like no. Yeah. I didn't realize this the first time I read this. He grabs Raph's sais and squeezes them together. And with his hands in them, Ryan, I didn't notice that.
Yes, around his fingers. I didn't notice that until you said it either.
That's insane.
That is like,
I didn't notice that.
That's like those are on your hands now.
Yeah,
no, that's badass.
Yeah, Edward Sci-Hands.
That's
there
great.
you go. So
there you go.
And he wrecks Leo's katanas again. So he's gonna good luck finding those in the sewer again. Like Donnie's probably got like so many bow staff.
He's already paying Splinter for those weapons. He's on those payments.
That's right. I forgot
he's
about
on that payment plan anyway.
He is. Yeah. And then again Shredder uses his just does one swipe and knocks all the turtles down. We still see a little baby turtle walking across those tank treads as we keep turning the page.
That. Yeah, that layout's really good.
I love it. So then here we see Hamata Yoshi showing up now with a shirt, like somehow like between the teleportation.
Yeah.
You know what I bet he did? I bet he took the shirt off of one of those soldiers that Shredder had like
Probably.
killed and just put the shirt on
Yeah.
because there's a ruse coming on. Like he needed it for his plan.
Mhm.
I didn't see that the first time I read
Yes.
it. So anyway, Shredder's like, so the rat came back a man. And he's like, no matter, this time I will kill you and you will stay dead. And Splinter's like, all right, so that the world shall live, so be it. And that's going to be the last thing that I say before I die, hopefully. And
I hope so.
what's cool is that Shredder's like
I hope it's not.
Like when
that
we almost
died in that
we
car
almost died in the
accident?
car accident. Yeah.
And
I learned
said,
my
Eric,
lesson.
You realize your last words would have been, that's what you said.
That is what I said. But
Yeah.
Shredder gets like kind of Iron Fist up, like, and he goes for like an attack, and like I guess because of his ninja precision, like that he hears the tink like of his metal gauntlet, like his blades hitting the talisman, and realizes that, oh, you're a very clever man, Rat. You almost tricked me into delivering a death blow that would have destroyed the final talisman. Cunning, but not cunning enough. And then we see the baby turtle still crawling along. I love how he keeps ripping on Splinter for being a rat and stuff. Love that. But then we turn the page. This is awesome. Like Shredder has a full-on cape now. Now he has a full-on cape. And it's all gray. It's like or black, like, and that looks way better. And I think he's now powered up, like he's Super Shredder almost, because his spikes.
He's added some. Yeah, his shoulder armor is totally different. He has now chest armor. That's awesome.
It is awesome, and this looks really good. Looks way better than the cover. But again, this is we're seeing a lot of Kirby Crackle, which lets us know that there's a mystical element in play, and that's because he has taken the talisman from Splinter, combined the three, and at this time the alignment is happening at this very moment. And so at this point, Shredder is about to walk into the beam that is being cast down by the gravitation, science space stuff, and as he's doing that, the turtle is already in that glow, that beam, and Shredder's about to step on Michelangelo, and Michelangelo is going towards what looks like a slice of pizza. That remember Cyberious.
Mikey's gonna do what Mikey's gonna do,
and
even as a baby turtle.
And this is so good. So Shredder slips on Michelangelo, and falls on his back. The talisman lands on Mikey, granting him the ability to change the world however he would like. And this is where the fate of the world rests on the back of a shoulder, which I think was analogous to that whole thing where like the world is on the back of the turtle. And we see that this pizza becomes gigantic. And that's all Michelangelo wanted was this giant pizza. And I loved that so much, Ryan. Like that was so good. That's such a good way to end this.
That's so it's really funny. It really subverts the expectations of what you think, and
absolutely.
I like it a lot.
I adore this. Like this is it because it's a roller coaster of like high stakes, high reward, and then something that is like you have a ninja master who is mutated up and like super strong and can conquer you like with all can best you with all of your physical abilities. So then you're just left to some freak accident that causes you to win the day. And that's what I always love when the Turtles do it and when it's done well. And I think Dan Slott did an excellent job here. So
he did. It's really funny.
So Cyberious is like, oh, teleporter activated. We're going to get out of here. And so then the Turtles, they cut him short because he's like, oh, Cyberious is like, oh, IO error. Come on, stupid piece of junk. So then, Donatello gets the final say and like basically just wrecks Cyberious' face with the rest of his broken staff and says psych to him as well. Then Raphael starts choking the Shredder, which I translated to him like really being into that and saying harder, but because Shredder's one of those dudes that's into that stuff. And the panels are great. The panels are great here. Raph is choking Shredder. Leo picks up Mikey, and then Splinter takes off his shirt again because he just has to get it off of him, and picks up the talisman.
Well, what? Yeah. Well, one thing that Raph does notice about I don't think he's choking Shredder as much as he's almost like it looks almost like he's checking for life signs.
Oh, that's a good point.
He says like lights out, but nobody's home.
That makes a lot more
old
sense.
Shred had finally lost it, and you see he's just like his mind's broken. I think.
That's actually a good point. I didn't pick up on that when I first read it, but yeah, you're absolutely right.
Way better, I think.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
oh yeah.
The fact that he can't believe that shit. I love that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I do too. And so at this point, the turtles all do the whole thing where they all put their hands together because they pretty much have run out of time, but they're trying to pull something out of like a rabbit out of a hat essentially and just hope that that this is going to work.
Literally here, like when you feel like you're falling,
right.
You can count on us. And you're putting them in there.
Right. And so then, there's a little bit of alignment still there with a little bit of magic left. And then we get this reveal, which is the child that we've been here, witnessing being told the story was Michelangelo. It was Splinter retelling. So and that was the last story of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
That's so
because
good.
They haven't had any more since then. Genius. I love it.
So good.
And so,
so good.
April shows up, Punker April shows up, and she's asking how Mikey's doing, and Splinter says that his mind has not caught up to his body yet, but soon enough, all will be as it was. And Donatello's like, but Sensei, how can you be sure? And then Splinter shows that he's got his rat hair coming back on his hands or on his arms, which has got to be a weird transition to go through. That you just progressively keep waking up more as a rat. Like that's be a little weird.
Some body horror, body horror,
just a little bit. And so anyway, he continues to say, "No, Donatello, this is no time for regrets." Because they're sad that Splinter's going to be going back to being a rat. He's like, for once again, you have all proven yourselves, and the world is a better place for vigilance, duty, and honor. And yeah, that's it, dude. That is the year of the turtle. So so what did you what were your thoughts on that?
So I love the river a lot.
Oh,
and
yeah.
And for people that don't know what that is, it was a Mirage during the guest era of Mirage. Rick Vitch guest starred, did a comic series, story called The River. It featured a character named Bloodsucker, who was a leech, who basically took a little bit of mutagen out of Raph's body.
Yes,
and it messed up his mutagen balance, and it made him. He de-evolved. That was a lot more like heartbreaking,
right?
Because he just wasn't very fast. He couldn't think of the right word.
Progressive,
so it was progressive, and it wound up kind of being not. I want to call it terminal.
Yeah,
but as far as his intelligence, it was terminal. It was getting worse every day, and it would end with him as a regular turtle, and he would lose all of that intelligence. And it bears so much resemblance to Flowers for Algernon, which is a great story if you haven't read it. It asks so many excellent questions about what makes you you.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's one of my favorite things we've ever covered on this podcast.
Absolutely.
I love that series, and this definitely hits on those things. But I like that it took a different route. And this is where you get, and I want to get out of the way so you can make your comments as well. I'll just say that this is kind of what you get from a AAA writer. Okay,
yes.
like I've been critical of Dan Slott in other work. Some of his Spider-Man stuff, not the biggest fan of it. Okay, like Dan Slott's not my favorite writer. I'm gonna say that. But I appreciate Dan Slott has a lot of talent at writing comics. I mean, he is really, really good. And when Dan Slott is really good, he's great. Okay.
Yeah.
This is a 3-issue Archie Adventures TMNT story.
Mm-hmm.
It's
at heart
not a planned 100 issue.
Yeah.
It's not a planned 100 issue arc. This is what it is. But he puts effort into this.
Mm-hmm.
So the motif of the father telling the son a story.
Right.
Revealing who both of those people are and the way he did it shows that he thought about this story and he cared.
Absolutely.
It being revealed as Michelangelo, you kind of get, once again, if you're thinking about it, you might have gotten it before the big reveal, but if you didn't and you see the reveal and you weren't, sometimes people just read and they almost don't want to figure things out while they're reading, right? They just want to take what they're seeing and kind of like be surprised when you're supposed to be on that page turn, right? Which is this W a page turn moment.
Absolutely.
It still gives you some chills, and I love the element of that. Yeah, we transformed him back to his old self, but his mind has to like make the leap back.
Right.
So I've just been telling him all of our old stories.
Yeah.
To jog his memory.
Yeah.
That is such a Hamato Yoshi thing to do, to sit there and like bring his son back from the edge. Just love it.
Yeah.
Just love it.
I hands down, like this was done so well. Like now, we've been talking about how much we love about it. Now I do love Dan Slott. Like I loved his Spider-Man stuff. Like that was what got me reading all of Spider-Verse and like all of that stuff. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. And likewise with this, I did it as well. So the things I'm trying to think, let me think about some stuff I don't like, because there's very few. Like I didn't like, the villains were neat. I kind of wish they might have been a little bit more mutated, but then again, like it's also neat to see them fighting actual just human beings that might have some abilities.
There's some superhero stuff which is unconventional.
Absolutely.
A little bit for Mirage, like
right.
and for Turtles in general.
Right.
Typically, you're superheroes because you've been mutated.
Yeah.
Or you're like say Ninjaro, where you're like a forgotten like anthropomorphic fox from the secret invisible island. There's all these crazy things. There are superheroes in the comics, but they're not your typical like human superheroes. And that was kind of interesting. But I agree. I do wish that maybe they were a little more fleshed out.
Yeah.
But I also understand they didn't have the time.
They didn't have the time. They didn't have the time, and they felt they seemed a little generic, except for Psonic, which with his abilities, like to have like the musical instruments, that was kind of cool. But then again, I'm sure that Dan had a time slot that he had to figure like to write this stuff, and like, you kind of just have to do what you got to do, and especially if it's not like a property that has like, I mean, the Turtles have their cast of characters, but they're not quite as verbose as the Spider-Man Rogues Gallery or whatever. So I can see that could be a hindering block, but nevertheless, they were good. It's just the really it's just Cyberious that kind of just irritated me.
Yeah, I think it's rather tempting when you're going into a TMNT story, to just like slot in. Shredder is by himself or with Krang and Bebop and Rocksteady.
Right.
Splinter is with the Turtles and April, and it can be a little tempting, right? But like I do like the unconventional take, right? I like the unconventional take of like taking these superheroes and they're villains. And they are a bit of a rogues gallery, but you don't really know, and they do some cool stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's cool to have Shredder have some help where you believe that Shredder could pull all this shit off, because normally it's like, look, man, like everyone that helps you is stupid. How did you ever do this? And you realize that
that's actually
in
that's actually a really good point.
T.K.O, Psonic, and Cyberious, they're ultra capable.
Yeah. And that was nice to see. That was good to see. And again, that's the thing where I enjoy. I'm kind of like walking back my statements, but like I enjoy the idea of
you're not walking back. You're talking
back. Yeah, talking out. That's it. And it's probably just design that I didn't like of some of these characters, but the execution was great because and to your point, like again, and further backing up my point of the Turtles like not necessarily relying on their own skills or their ninja skills, but combining them with them being teenagers. And like we skipped over the part where they reference Casey Jones because they're playing hockey with the talisman like on the
Yes,
in the
yeah,
snow,
yeah.
and like that's stuff that makes the turtles like so good, and it's and when you have a good writer like Dan doing it, it's exemplary of great storytelling. And so yeah, like I liked this a lot more than I thought I was going to, because the art kind of deceived me. It was good, but it wasn't quite like Adventures like I was used to. So
Yeah,
I was a little
yeah. When it
apprehensive.
started, like the first issue, I maybe a third of the way through the first issue, I felt a little bit like, oh, this isn't really grabbing me, and it's kind of wordy, right? It's
Oh
kind of
yeah,
wordier than we're maybe used to in comics. Like, obviously, in the era back in this era, they were like, well, even like going back to the beginning of the Turtles, comics were way wordier then
right.
than they
Oh
wound
yeah,
up being later. I mean, all you got to do, I mean, just go back and read old X-Men. Go back and read Claremont X-Men.
oh yeah.
And
It's difficult.
just words, word, 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 word,
Yep.
word. Just everyone's talking. But like I saw that old, like kind of like that 90s Big Two style. I saw a lot of the verbose stuff. It was about a talisman that I didn't really understand and I didn't really care about. But like it did take off. But I back you up a little bit. At first you're kind of like I was like, oh, I hope I'm not reading 3 issues of something I don't care
Yeah.
about. Because
Yeah.
always your fear. But then it caught me. It caught me, and of course, back half of 1 and into 2 and 3, I was getting kind of pulled. Now I'm getting pulled forward, right?
Right,
Now I want to
right.
read more, and that's what you
Right.
want, right?
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been great if like I mean, I still would have read more of this. I think checking the
course.
chat, it looks like Adam Winters is dropping some more knowledge. Said that Dan Slott
geez.
recently commented on Twitter that there was a short-lived window where his take on the Turtles at Archie might have continued as an ongoing series, and yeah, that would have been great. But apparently it was
That
more of a
would've been
licensing issue that caused the whole thing to end. And that's usually why good things end, is because of some bureaucratic BS. And so that's just disappointing. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. So like I don't know. And then but before we get out, Ryan,
That kind of pisses me. The more I think about, the more like I read about what Adam wrote in chat about like all of his stories, how like Michelangelo would have been, and this is all quoted from his from Dan Slott's like comments, how even though Michelangelo had been remuted, he would have been reduced to a more like innocent childlike state.
Oh, okay.
Splinter would have remained human for a while, and they would have. I'm like, damn, that would have been really cool.
It would have
actually.
It totally would have been.
Yeah, damn.
Yeah. So real quick before we go, I want to ask one of the questions that we have on our ticker that's on the bottom of every episode. But the questions change obviously for those who haven't watched the YouTube yet. And John Clemens is calling me out for a softball question, or a slow pitch question, excuse me, about Power Rangers or TMNT. I think I ask, which one would you want to be a fifth or sixth, seventh member of, like honorary member of, if you could be, because these were two juggernauts in the 90s, and that was the thing. You had Zack the Fifth Turtle, and then you had like other characters in Power Rangers that could be that. But if you had the choice, like which one would you side with, or not necessarily side with, but like all of the stuff that they have to deal with, where would you go?
I honestly feel like I would rather be part of the TMNT. I know that John says this isn't Ranger Soup.
Right.
It's not.
It's not.
But what I'll say is like the my big issue with the whole Super Sentai thing, especially the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, how is it presented here in America, is that all you do is go to school, alien fight, get into Zords, knock over things, go back. Like my existence being that over and over and over and over, even with little variations, you know what I mean? Kind of like, oh, but this time they captured one of you. And I'm like, do we still get in the Zord? We just don't have an arm? See? And then we have to jump out and we fight on the ground for a while, and then everyone throws the fireworks, and then we win again. Right. I feel like that would drive me actually insane.
Okay.
Whereas I gotta say that the Turtles, I guess you go to the animated series and say, oh, well, then would you want your life to just be sitting around the sewer, and all of a sudden Shredder and Krang bring the Technodrome back, and you whatever and whatever. But I feel like the turtles have more. Just if we take in the entire world and the entire universe, there's more going on you could be into. I feel like I haven't really seen much Power Rangers that doesn't involve open up with us all eating pizza at high school and like everyone's normal XYZ alien Zord fight, jump down, fireworks end. So I think I choose to be a turtle.
Okay. So yeah. So I would probably go Power Rangers only because I don't really see.
Of course you would.
I don't see myself
Of course you would.
being in a sewer. That's just not my thing. I don't really feel like hanging out there.
In this world, the sewer doesn't smell.
You're
gonna be the fifth turtle. It's just like watery. It's just water down there. It's all
sewer
it is.
slimalingus. That is not how that works.
No, there's no sewer slime.
There definitely is.
You don't have to be technically the fifth. You don't have to live down there, man.
Okay.
You could be Zach the fifth turtle.
Okay, that's fair.
Or
that's fair.
You could be like Carter, where you're not. You don't live. You're a human. You don't live down there. You just like you fight with them. You're like family. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, that's fair. But the Power Rangers, and if we're just sticking to MMPR, so like I guess American, the first 3 seasons. So you get to fight. I get to go to school, be a normal human, have a secret identity, go fight in a giant robot. And I don't know, just like do cool like karate stuff and possibly go to the moon and other planets eventually, and then meet Masked Rider. Yeah, that sounds really cool. And go talk to like a I don't know. There's a lot of like very like the turtles have it a lot harder. I'm gonna give it that. Well, that's debatable, I guess, in regards to like their everyday life. I think the turtles have it a lot harder because they're
for
generally
sure.
not.
They're outcasts. You know,
they're outcasts. Thank you.
We strike and fade away, right?
Right.
Because they can't be seen, right?
Precisely.
That's a little different.
And they don't have any accolades for anything they do. Like it vacillates between people knowing who they are and loving them, and knowing who they are and hating them, or not knowing them at all.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that. I'd get sick of Shredder's garbage all the time, but then again, I mean, the fact that the Power Ranger stuff has some nightmare stuff. Like that's some like, you know, when they trapped Kimberly in the bottle and then like all this other stuff, like where you have a witch that's on the moon that's like trying to convince like figuring out your nightmares.
Yeah.
And you know, that's horrifying.
Yeah.
And then you think you beat them. But because that's for some reason they never realized that once we beat them, they're gonna make my monster grow. You know what I'm saying? And so like that.
But Shredder drops like nog on you, bro. He brings that he brings that up male level.
That's
like,
true.
Like asshole out to the I turned you into a candy cane. You're like, that man's dead.
That's
like there's stuff like that happens.
That's true.
You got like random Rat King, bro. You got a random Rat King, like, come on, my minions.
That's true.
Like,
that's freaky.
I stole Krang's cool gun, and I'm gonna shoot either a hole in the street, like that's like a like the Marianas Trench, or I'll just like break the front bumper on a truck. Like you got that stuff going on. Also, I feel like that universe would be cooler. That would be cooler to hang out in, because in this universe, I feel like you can kind of be what you want to do, and the people you hang out with are either 4 turtles and their cool dad in the sewer, like eating pizza, like watching TV, hanging the hell out, or like learning, like, or like, you know, like, I don't know about, I think we're the kind of guys that like, we always like, whenever we would like date somebody, we'd like want to get to know their parents really well, and like we'd like, be like guilty of hanging out with dad too much, and it's like with your dad.
We want to find out. We want to find out what's so cool about your dad. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and this girl's like, well, why don't you come back here and we can make out? And you're like, yeah, but no, me and your dad were just talking about Corvettes or whatever, and I'm just gonna finish that up. Like, so I feel like we'd be hanging out with with Splinter a ton, dude. We'd be with Hamato Yoshi just like all day, and Mikey'd be like, come on, man, let's go hang out. But like, I'll calm down. I'm hearing a story about the mothballs.
Right.
And you have April and Irma and all of them like hanging out like in the city, man, like running around, versus like, I don't know how I feel about just hanging out with a bunch of high school kids, man.
I don't know, man.
Do you know what I mean? I feel like it'd be kind of weird. It'd be like, hey, man, you gonna do the talent show? And I'm like, man, I don't know. Like, man, bro, I'm like 39, man. Like,
well, obviously,
I want to hang out, dude. I want to go do cool shit.
Right. Well, obviously, we'd probably be age appropriate for it, I would assume.
I know.
But anyway. Well, Well, guys,
I'm just trying to counterpoint. Your
likewise.
point. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Oh,
You're
absolutely.
So that's how we go. Iron sharpens iron.
Precisely.
Iron. Quick show of hands. Who says iron as iron? I want to really know.
I hope
some
nobody.
People do.
Really?
Some people do it. Yeah. In the chat, if you or someone who says iron instead of iron, let me know. You'll maybe say it the wrong way.
Almost. You got to put the right emphasis on the wrong syllable.
Damn close.
Guys, real quick before we get out of here, I want to mention that tentatively, our next schedule is we got some stuff coming up pretty quick. So we will be doing next episode the Mutant Turtles Superman Legend OVA from May of 1996, which is basically an anime version of the mangas that we were reading with the Mutant Turtles and the stones. I'm drawing a blank right now because it's late as hell. So, but with all that and so in the Saint, Guardian Saint, and all that stuff like that. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. And there's a soundtrack to that, which we're probably going to do in the same episode. Following that, we're going to dive into season 10, which is the final season of the animated series of the 87 animated series. And that's going to be like a huge thing. So and
8
for the
episodes from done, man.
From being done with that. Yep. So that is from September through November of 96. And for those who haven't heard or forgot, like we're going to be doing a giveaway, a special thing for Ryan's own personal collection of the Turtle Van DVD set.
Yes.
So we'll have more about that later. And then after that, once we're done with that, we're going to start getting into, if I'm not mistaken, this could change, but as far as I can tell right now, that would be the best time to get into the Image Volume 3 of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because we kind of want to do that.
Once we're done with that era, right? I feel like you finish season 10, you can really close the book on like a lot of stuff like Mirage Volume 1 and Volume 2. You could, you know what I mean? There's a lot of things that's adventures and all these things you can really kind of start to shut down that first wave of the Turtles right there.
Right.
Gets pretty close.
And because the Volume 3 goes through like a few years. And so so I figured that's how we're going to do it. But that's what's on the horizon. So, like, you know, if there's anything we've missed or if you have a better solution, like a better idea of how we should handle some of this stuff, definitely let us know. And if you want to be Team Power Rangers or Team Turtles, let us know. You can do that by going to your email of choice or your internet of choice and first of all, go to the home of the internet, turtlesoupshow.com, where all of our episodes are up on the internet. You can download and listen to them and check them all out. But then you can find our email. It's on there. It's also, you can just put it in. It's turtlesoupshow@gmail.com. And you can let us know all the answers to all the questions out at the bottom of the YouTube videos, as well as getting in the chat or just commenting on the YouTube video. But yeah, there's that. And you can join the Facebook group, Turtle Soup group. We got a lot of cool stuff going on there. We're on Instagram, Turtle Soup Show with the _ as well as a bunch of other socials like that. If you can find us, if you're still listening to us as an audio podcast, we still appreciate you and still love y'all. If you could rate, review, subscribe, however y'all are listening to us there, we really appreciate that. And like I said, YouTube, subscribe, and hit the bell and give us that thumbs up. Even if you don't want to watch us, like if you don't like to see our faces, if you could just like do it, that's cool because that helps us out. And
you can just do it.
Just do it. I mean, I figured Nike said it. Why can't I? But if you want to go above and beyond, like so many of you have done, and help prevent the Foot Clan from making us say clang and keeping us afloat, you can do that by going to patreon.com and find we've been making a podcast, and we've got a lot of cool stuff that's available, and a lot of things are on the horizon still, and we're getting this thing going. And so we got a whole new plan for Patreon. A lot of it's up there, a lot of it's still in the works, but the main gist is that y'all, you providing monetary support for the show, and that helps us in a lot of ways to get certain technologies figured out and certain things we need, equipment, all kinds of stuff. And so it really does help a lot. And that's the best way to do it to help support the show. And that's pretty much it. So Ryan, I think that's it.
Else time.
Stop.